Like, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel
Divinity.
Welcome back, everyone, to Titan Esports. It is indeed a Divinity League, not Conqueror League. I'm Caleb Pang. I'm joined with Fel today, filling in for Chong. Chong is out of power for the week, so happy to have you here again, Fel. Seems to be our usual stand-in as our color commentator. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm getting used to it now. I'm feeling great. Excited to be here. I'm glad like the stars aligned for me to be able to come in on this Monday. So yeah, super excited. Obviously, the matchup, between we were talking about this beforehand. I love these types of matchups where two teams where one is like sort of on the outskirts with a chance to get in the playoffs. The other one's probably not, and so both teams probably just like it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. And I think we're going to see some crazy stuff today because I think all the regular stuff is thrown out the window and everybody's going to be trying to get their way onto a team for next season and, prove themselves to the other coaches. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. And, for these players, maybe if there's a little bit less online, they're going to play a little bit more aggressively, play a little bit less cautiously in some of these matches. And that makes for some pretty interesting matches, if I do say so myself. It is Seneca Swarm versus Jolly Rogers Royal Fortune. Ignore the Armada part. There's a slight typo, but it is Jolly Rogers Royal Fortune on that bottom side. And we had Seneca Swarm on, I think, week 2 or 3 or so of the broadcast. So they are making a return. And this is first appearance for Jolly Rogers of the season on the broadcast. So looking forward to see how these matchups go. It is a best of 3 fearless format. So what that means is any champions drafted in previous games will not be eligible for a subsequent game. So if it goes the distance to 3 games, then we'll definitely see some diversity in some of the champion pools.
Yeah, especially over at the Emerald side too. This is just like when you're starting to get to the point where like your mechanics obviously are fine tuned. You're learning more about the game, and as the higher up you go, more and more of the meta matters. But I think Emerald's like that sweet spot, right, where you're just at that point where you're getting into like some of the meta matters and some of the matchups matter, but it still kind of boils down to like your personal preference in your own matchups and everything like that. So yeah, this should be like I said, this should be a good one. I think. This is also the kickoff of cross group week, so it's Group A versus Group B. So you have those bragging rights as well. It's nice when even your side, even like the lower teams in your bracket, are beating up the other bracket. And I know by the time we get to playoffs, it's usually like either Group A or B is just like undefeated in the playoffs, and it's like that's why we lost, because we were up against the best of the best, not because we didn't deserve to be there. So yeah, no, it should be good.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's so much that can happen, right, throughout these matches too. Like even the best team can be defeated. Their, elo ranges are all fairly similar. So a lot of it is just getting that team synergy going. But we'll be heading shortly to the draft. As a reminder, Lock is still banned until I believe tomorrow for Titan Esports. So or tomorrow's the last day, so maybe it's a day. It's a day after the Wednesday. So no lock for today in this head-to-head matchup, as we have Jolly Rogers on that blue side with that first ban. They're going to ban out Jin right off the bat, which is kind of an interesting one. Probably a targeted ban, if I were to guess, against maybe Hype, because Jin's not. I want to say Jin is like a hard ADC to work around. If I were to, think of ADCs that are worth banning.
No, and it looks like they're kind of trying to just ban him out completely, just focus right there. And Jin's one of those champions too that if you become proficient with him and you get very good at your 4 shots and lining up and your W, and then you don't turn into Jin Charles once your ult goes off, like you can still do a lot of damage. He's hard to catch once he starts getting crit because of his passive. So yeah, I could see why they're banning it, especially if, like you said, iHades is known for playing that. And then after that, like I said, the Senna ban, the Nautilus ban, looks like they're just targeting that bot lane, and Seneca Swarm is just kind of banning out just kind of all over the place, the Seraphine, Wukong, and Pantheon. So a little bit of a target towards Marth Stoner in the jungle and the support Spring Roll. And it looks like Caitlyn's going to be the B1. As we get into this draft, what do you find more important on these, the B1 or the R5?
Ooh, I mean, personally, I think the R5 is pretty important, right? Because I feel like a lot of champions these days have good like counter pick options, unless you're like maybe like in a game like 3 of Fearless in a best of 3, or maybe game 5 of Fearless. Like that's when those prio picks can really come in handy when a lot of those counters are out of the way. But especially for game 1, I don't think it's nearly as important, as we do get the Ashe pick up on the side of Seneca Swarm. I was thinking too, we get Nocturne and Sejuani to round out the junglers, but A lot of mages are actually pretty annoying for Caitlyn to deal with too, but might not be something that Hype is feeling as comfortable with compared to the Ashe. As we get Caitlyn Karma lane, so that's gonna be pretty annoying to deal with, especially without the Seraphine on the side of Seneca Swarm. Let's see how they round out. They're probably gonna pick out their support on this third pick.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind with two squishies in the bot lane. Ooh, they're actually going to go with the Aurora, so they're going to prioritize their mid lane pick here. And yeah, but I guess the point I was going to get to is like, what is the worst? Is there any worse feeling than B1ing something and then going like 0-6 and just having absolutely no effect in the game whatsoever? Whereas like when you counter pick and then you lose your lane, like what's more embarrassing? Because you want blue side for that first pick, yeah. But yeah, this lane is going to be, I think, a little volatile. I wouldn't mind seeing like a super engage, like a Blitzcrank or a Thresh or something like that, just to, try to do what you can up against the Karma. The only problem is if you fall behind in that lane, which you can do to a Caitlyn, like it just feels terrible to play. So more than likely, probably going to be some sort of enchanter here to kind of help this Ashe get into the late game scaling. And I like the fact that they pivoted towards the Aurora to really give their mid laner the matchup that they wanted, as it is going to be the round. Okay, so they are going to go with the engage. Forest Traveler's going to be, piloting this rel, or Elsword's going to be piloting this rel, and we're going to see, how this one goes, because that is a lot of lockdown for this Nocturne to turn the lights out and kind of go. And the answer is going to be the Sylas in the mid lane. So Goat Theory going to be on the Sylas. I love watching this champion in the hands of people that can play it, because I can't. But when it's played well and you get like two ults inside of like the same team fight and you just turns everything around, it's a lot of fun to see. So excited for this one.
Yeah, some really good ultimates to seal up. Oh, and we get the Dr. Mundo to round it out too. So very health heavy. Honestly, the Mundo is pretty strong into composition of Jolly Rogers. Obviously, Caitlyn can dish out some damage, but at a certain point, you just have so much health to cut through. But that is a very good ultimate that Size can steal up later on too. It's just that the Mundo just kind of checks the Sejuani really well in those skirmishes, and then I don't think the Ornn can really kill it. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I think it's going to be the Mundo's going to be, as long as Mundo like stays fed and, gets a split push as well, like it's going to be really hard to kill this Mundo, because if you look at the damage composition of Jolly Rogers, they just don't have much consistent damage really outside that Caitlyn.
And Kiko Cyrus, he also just let us know on the stream that that's actually a Syndra, not a Sylas. So a little bit more of a... Okay. I guess not as fun for me.
A little bit more damage, I guess. Yeah.
Probably a smarter, a little bit more of an artillery. You can poke. You can get multiple, multiple knockbacks and everything. So potentially a much safer. But also on the other side of this, Aurora has a lot of mobility, and Syndra does deal not very well with mobility, especially once they can't just one shot. And if they fall behind, like that's gonna be really hard for Goat Theory to kind of pull this one off. So I guess we'll see how it ends up going for them. But Syndra is one of those champions that if you do get off quickly and you can get your stacks going and get to your late game scaling up until you hit your execution point, maybe the biggest thing is going to be trying to, like you said, like knock down that Mundo and try to get them low and try to get them to where you can deal with it, especially on like an immobile champions that they have on JRFF. But a lot of tankiness on Jolly Rogers and a lot of good engage and scrappiness on Seneca Swarm. So both of these comps looking really good. I kind of like it for game one. I think this is going to be a good judge the distance between each other and try to like figure out how each other go. And it should be a good litmus for both of them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that Nocturne's definitely going to be trying to target Caitlyn whenever possible in these fights. That is going to be a lot of damage gone if you get take out that Caitlyn.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. Minions have spawned.
Who wants a treat? I see your spirit.
going over to Lucky on the Caitlyn is going to be a solid lead for Jolly Rogers. Definitely the champion you want that gold to be on.
Yeah, and that's one of those things too, where like the support and the ADC are probably like, hey, we're gonna go in here in a little bit. Okay, let's get ready. And then all of a sudden the play changes, and maybe a lack of communication might have been the reason for that, because it looked like the play was on, and then all of a sudden, Ashe sitting in the back, Hades on the Ashe sitting in the back there, just like not going in with, and that feels so bad when you're playing like a Rel into a Karma, right? Where you're just like, ugh. But I don't think that they saw the Sejuani coming down. They had the Nocturne coming. I think if they would have waited like 15 seconds, maybe they could have gotten like a good 3-on-3 and maybe even done something well with that, because we do know prior to level 3 or even level 4, Rel can definitely help out and do a ton of damage now, as Juggernaut is going to get collapsed on here.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a 1v3 right there. Juggernaut going to use the weirding to get a little bit of space, but does get root up from the Karma, and Juggernaut only a few more autos away, but should be able to get out safely. Good way to get out of that. Did have to burn the flash, but other than that, nothing too much there. Still has a teleport to get back into lane, and CS-wise, fairly even, but some pretty high pressure from Marth in the early game. Just, going for some of these ganks, putting pressure on that bot lane and mid lane so far. Not falling really behind on CS. You can see Hades going for a little bit invade, though, on the top side. Here comes a crash down onto Lucky. Shattering Strike is going to land, and Lucky going to get ignited as well, taking a good chunk of damage. And unfortunately, the kill does go over to Sword on the Rel, but that's still a kill for the bot lane nonetheless for Seneca Swarm to help even things out a bit. And that's a pretty massive wave crashing into that bot lane turret, as meanwhile, there's fights going on this top side, but I think the Gromp is going to belong to Marth in this one. 1-1 is the score right now with the, yeah, look at this wave. It's just huge wave crashing down. And unfortunately, a lot of XP going to be missing for this Caitlyn.
Yeah, you say unfortunately for Elsword getting that kill, but I say after they made a play where the Ashe didn't call them off, I think it's kind of deserved for that, right? As the support guy, when you don't get called off and you just are left in no man's land to the Sejuani and the Karma and Caitlyn, man. But yeah, that is kind of what we were talking about earlier, where as soon as Karma leaves the lane and they saw her mid, they were like, okay, we can take this play. And Ashe, as an early game ADC, actually does a lot of damage alongside this Rel too. So once your hail of arrows is like ready to go, and you can just pop Q and then just get auto resets and stack that lethal tempo super quick. I think that was a great job. But we need to make sure that the Sejuani repeats this gank. Oh, as I say it, repeats the gank into the mid.
Marth back here, but Between Worlds is going to be dropped defensively to try to get Juggernaut out, and Juggernaut does make it out of there. Meanwhile, you can see Marth rotating towards that bot side. So comes Hades as well. Hades is going to spot this out first, and Marth going to think twice about this, as the bot lane of Seneca Swarm is there with the prio a little bit earlier. Marth going to be chunked to half health. Can't really contest this. And now Drake might be up for grabs for Seneca Swarm. Meanwhile, the fights are going on this top side to just tank bruisers going at it for a bit. The CS differential is actually pretty massive though right now. TDD with the CS, more than double the CS of this Dr. Mundo. Dr. Mundo still scales into the late game, but that's definitely a great start for the top side of Jolly Rogers.
Oh yeah, it's huge. And the weird part about it is that the wave has been pushed to TDD's side like almost this entire time. So either he's doing a really good job of freezing, we haven't been watching as much, but either he's doing a really good job of freezing, or Mundo's just doing a bad job of last hitting, which Mundo's one of those champions that I think it's a little easy to last hit, especially into a matchup like this. So probably more of just like, there's been just such a good freeze from the side of TDD, who already has the Bombies and the Bramble Vest. So they're going to be cutting down that healing from the Mundo when he pops his ult. So shouldn't be too much in the way of like during the actual wave state and the laning, just because Mundo, if he's shoving, shouldn't really be touching him that much. But when these late game fights start to come on, or when these little scraps and team fights, as the grubs are going to be coming up in about a minute, should be really beneficial. And that's a lot of gold, especially in item value, as now Goat Theory.
All right, Crash Down going to be buffered a little bit from the Scout of the Week, and Goat still forced to flash out of that to safety. You can see Spring was there for some additional assistance, but just no way taking that full health Aurora and Aurel off the map, as Goat just going to push out some of the waves. Meanwhile, at spot lane, they're just skirmishing a bit. I mean, overall, though, despite the fact that Lucky did die earlier, it does still have a kill to his name, so slightly ahead of the Ashe maybe in this particular matchup. And you can see Force Traveler, just trying to weather out this matchup as much as possible. But I think maybe missed some waves too, as TDD is actually ahead on XP in that top lane matchup. But we'll see. I mean, in the mid lane matchup too, you can see their Goat Theory with a sizable CS lead over the Aurora.
Yeah, and it just seems like the CS part is going to JRFF like a lot, right? Like even the jungle has a 1 CS, as they also get the dragon there. But the Void Grubs are going to be going over to the Nocturne here. It is going to be Seneca Swarm picking these up, so nice cross map play. I really like that. I think that's something that is understated, especially in these leagues, the lower level leagues where cross map plays aren't always made, you know, and there's a lot of times where like it's kind of like, but Go 3 under trouble again.
All right, Between Worlds is going to be dropped as well for some additional damage. There's going to be Juggernaut that picks up the kill over Goat Theory. Paranoia used as well, just for some extra insurance, but not even needed. That's definitely going to give some necessary gold over to Juggernaut to help catch up in some of that gold differential. Grubs going over to the side of Second Swarm is actually pretty solid, though, because Force Traveler is going to be looking to split later with that Mundo, and 3 Grubs on a Mundo, especially in late game on side lane, is pretty annoying to deal with, and may force TDD to just stay in the side lane against Mundo the whole time, and that's just more Heartsteel stacks for Force Traveler as the game goes on.
Yeah, but also TDD is going to be getting them as well. I know he's probably not going for or I was thinking grass stacks, but yeah. And an interesting thing is that
Oh, Enchanted Crystal Arrow going to be cleansed, and Flash going to be burned as well. Both Summoner spells used in that exchange. So even though not getting the kill onto Lucky, that means that Lucky is going to be way easier to pick off later on. As we see Spring Roll going to rotate over some additional assistance, but putting the pressure on, recognizing that the Karma was not in lane, so able to try to make the most of that matchup.
Yeah, it's 1000% what they need to do. I think the only better pick, but I think it was banned, would probably be Nautilus, just so that you can guarantee that you get those knockups. But they're playing this perfectly. Spring is doing what they're supposed to do. They're roaming. They're making sure that that Goat Theory can at least sustain or keep up like some sort of a lead, or stay in lane with this Aurora. I think that's why we're getting we had such a CS disparity in between those two. But then also on the side of Seneca Swarm, this bot lane is doing exactly what they're supposed to do. Every time that Karma leaves the lane, even when it was a bad idea, they're doing it. And that, like, sometimes the results don't match what the process is, and the process is always going to be what you care about is Forest Trader, ult for ult.
All right, going to be knocked up with the Call of the Forge God. He's going to try to grab his passive, but not able to. And TDD just keeping the pressure on Force Traveler as much as possible. Definitely doing what he needs to do in this matchup to kind of just slow down this Mundo as much as possible. I mean, we've all been in those games where Mundo just completely steamrolls the enemy team in the late game. But we've also seen those matchups where Mundo just kind of looks like just a meat shield that doesn't really do as much as constantly dying and time after time. And this is not quite at that level yet, as Force Traveler going to, exchange some blows there. But if Force Traveler keeps falling behind, that could be the case over time. Oh, Enchanted Crystal Arrow is going to lock up Lucky, and you can see that everything going to be used, but Marth is here for the additional backup, and rooted up is going to be L Sword, and that's going to be a kill going over to Lucky as well. So great response to that bot lane gank. They knew that the enemy team had a timer to go off of, right? They knew that the summoner spells were going gone, so they were just hovering the jungler in that area just in case they went on it, and that's exactly what happened. Maybe dove a little too deep under turrets, and unfortunately they paid the price.
Yeah, that's one of those unfortunates, right? Where you're just like, oh man, we had to play and we screwed it up. I kind of think that, especially, never mind.
Between Worlds and Paranoia are going to be dropped, but Flash is going to be used from Goat Theory to get out of there. And Marth just everywhere on the map, just always there for assistance. But I don't know if there's enough damage to back up Marth in this particular exchange, as now L Sword is here and Goat Theory is a little too low. Shattering Strike not going to land though. So Marth should be able to get out to safety, no problem.
Yeah, and I back to the bottom play really quick. It's the right call to stay aggressive. However, I think maybe having Nocturne hovering around would have gotten the kill onto Lucky there, and then I think after that, then you deal with the consequences. But just giving away a free kill over to Lucky is not good. One thing that is interesting here from Lucky is actually the itemization that went for the Storm Razors first. Is now we're going to get a repeat gank from this Sejuani, and I absolutely love this. I don't think that they see her just yet, but the spider senses are tingling, so they do back off a little bit. But normally we see these Hex Optics C44 as the first item that is bought for Caitlyn's, but opting in for the Storm Razor, I guess, just for extra slowing against other people? Is it not normal to just go Hex Optics every single time?
Yeah, most people do typically go for the Hex Optics on that first item. A Storm Rage is not bad, but I think ever since that Hex Optics became an item and people realized its potential, it just seems like the perfect item, especially the first item for the Caitlyn. So we'll see if Lucky ends up building Hex Optics or not, but you are going to start delaying some of your damage if you go Hex Optics second, right? Because you still need that IE and the Lord Doms in all likelihood, especially into a Dr. Muno composition. So we'll kind of see how Lucky builds out the rest of this crit build, as most Caitlyn is going to go for that 100% crit overall. And looks like they're going to try to secure up the second Drake. But there is going to be a ward that spots this, so let's see if there's going to be contested or not. Paranoia is up for Hades, but there's a lot of members of JR in this area.
Yeah, so we'll see. I guess try for the hero smite. It's not going to happen. So yeah. Good no contest from the side of Seneca Swarm. I think that if you try to go in there and you overcommit and you don't get the dragon and you give a killer or two away, I do think that could have been disastrous for them. As the mid laners starting to do some damage to each other. I like this. Now you have the Blackfire Torch up against what looks like is going to be a Blackfire Torch as well, but a little delayed due to the Dark Seal and the refillable potions, which I also like because that's an extra 200 health every single time you go in, as we do have the jungler on the bot side, ready to gank once again.
Yeah, and you can see top laners still just doing top lane things. It looks like the Sejuani is also building up the Heartsteel on top of it, so... going to be a lot of Heartsteel procs throughout this game. Maybe not as good of an item now these days for the Sejuani, but it's still not unusable, as Hades is going to pick up the kill onto Goat Theory. They've been just trying to dive Goat Theory whenever possible, and unfortunately that's partially the reason why Goat Theory is a little bit behind on items, despite the fact that has almost a 20 CS lead over his counterpart. Enchanted Crystal Arrow does land, but it's going to be instantly cleansed. Shattering Strike's going to land, and here comes a Crash Down, but the Magnet Storm is not going to catch the Caitlyn. Great reactions from Lucky, and Lucky tried to go for the kill. Doesn't get the kill onto Rel, but might be able to get a kill onto the Ashe, and the Rel afterward had to play safe there, as Elsword is in one auto range of dying, and unfortunately not able to save the Karma. So great target focus from Seneca Swarm, and even though you didn't land a lot of the crucial stuns onto the Caitlyn, you're able to grab the summoners yet again and push her far enough that you can eventually pick up that kill.
Yeah, and I love the fact that they realized once they got the two summoners out of Caitlyn, she was just a little bit too far away. So I like like you said, not just the target selection, but the target swapping that they did there was almost perfect, where you just ignite the Karma and then you just kind of deal with that. And thank God Elsword didn't go back in, because it did look like they were trying to think about maybe if I could press W in time. No, you're one shot away. Don't die here. So I like not just the call and how they swapped the aggro on the targets, but also how they ended up not overcommitting to a play that was already dead. Take the one kill, the small victory, and then go with that now, as they are going to catch everybody up here on the top side. So we might actually see a dive with the Paranoia coming towards the bot lane, as we do see Nocturne is starting to kind of hover around that area. Let's see if they can start this off before Karma gets there. If not, just don't overcommit to the play if it's dead.
All right, and we have the Warmox completed up for the Dr. Mundo. Lucky going to be caught in a tough position as the Crashdown comes in, and Paranoia is going to be followed up. So much damage coming through from the bot lane of Seneca Swarm. Also going to take a lot of turret shots, but still able to make it out alive. And now with just Spring Roll in this area, I don't know if Spring Roll is going to have enough damage to really take out or put enough pressure onto this lane. They're looking to try to grab this turret as much as possible, but Elsword takes another turret shot, and this is starting to get a little bit precarious for the Rel, but I think they'll be in a okay position here. No one here for the backup yet. Juggernaut is here for some additional assistance. Enchanted Crystal Arrow does land onto Spring Roll, and a few more damage will do it. And unfortunately, Burn the Flash doesn't get out of there in time. Meanwhile, Force Traveler does go down to Goat Theory with a gank on the top side.
Oh, dude, that was so good, and I talk about this all the time. We see so many Ashe arrows miss when they go perpendicular to the lane. I love that they went parallel with it right down the line. That's a perfect job from Hades on this Ashe, and a great setup by Juggernaut too. That was before they got the ward. He wasn't even on a ward yet, as Spring Roll was setting the ward is when they started going off. So as soon as that hit, I like the Between Worlds pop. Everything was right there, lined up perfectly. So good communication and execution from the side of Seneca Swarm. They're looking very poised this game, even though they're top and they're mid, gave up an early lead. You know, you get through it in the late game with the Mundo. Eventually, you'll be tanky no matter what, and be able to do your thing. And then in the mid lane, 2 kills kind of makes up for the fact that you had 0, you know, that you were losing the CS battle so bad. So great job from the Nocturne as well to make sure that they're getting on top of this and getting their carries to where they need to be so that they can actually carry this game.
That's right. I mean, and they got a tower on top of that as well. I think Dr. Mundo dying is not really that consequential because Dr. Mundo could still do things. But if you're slowing down the Caitlyn's power spikes as much as possible, that is going to be the clear win condition for the rest of your team, going to limit a lot of the damage. I mean, they're just ganking the carries, right? That's kind of what their strategy is. Just gank the Syndra, gank the Caitlyn, let them Ornn do whatever Ornn wants to do at that top lane. Like, you might not be able to kill him very easily, but he's not going to be killing many people himself either. As we see, this Caitlyn is actually building a Last Whisper item second, probably Lord Doms, which is interesting as a second item there too, but maybe just wants to have some of that early pressure, especially into Dr. Mundo. But I don't think Force Traveler is the real main target you have to worry about for this time being, as they're looking to set up this Drake for the Cloud Soul Point. However, with the positioning, aggressive positioning that Seneca Swarm's taking, I don't know if they could really go for this. And Seneca Swarm just seems like they're a little bit stronger in this team fight. But TDD has teleport over here. Let's see if they can make something happen here, as TDD does have a pretty massive shield from that teleport for this engage. Meanwhile, Force Traveler is going to go for a flank from that mid lane. I don't know how much... Oh, okay. Force Traveler just going to walk into 4 members, 5 members even. Paranoia's going to be dropping. Between Worlds is going to be used as well. Enchanted Crystal Arrow does land onto the Karma, and Karma just gets exploded. Goat there goes down right away afterward. And this team fight is all Seneca Swarm, as Marth can only do anything but run away, but not even able to get to it. And TDD just getting dove under the turret. And the turret's going to almost take out Elstore. Doesn't even take out a single member on the side of Seneca Swarm. That's a full ace.
That's exactly how you draw that one up too, right? Like, you have Forest Traveler coming over. I'm pretty sure they knew it was on a ward. It did look like there was the graphic there, so he knew exactly what he was doing. JRRF took the bait. JRRF took the bait, and they sent way too much at the Mundo. If you do not kill him within that first like 2 to 3 seconds of burst, and you allow his W shield to just proc and get all that health back, everything just kind of worked out their way. The Between Worlds to lock everyone down, get the almost guaranteed Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and then Sword and Nocturne just getting their ults onto so many members, or Sword getting an ult onto so many members, and then Hades on the Nocturne just coming through and jumping on top of the Syndra on the backside of that fight. Like, it's just so well executed. That was so nice to see from the side of Seneca Swarm. So if they could play these team fights like that, that is going to be massive. If I do kind of feel, though, that if JRFF had started their started the fight off with their own engage, I think that could have gone a lot different. It looked like they just got super sidetracked by that Mundo coming over the flank, being like, this is illegal. And then, yeah, no, it wasn't. They just played you.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I thought that Force Traveler was, you know, maybe going a little too deep there, but he knew what he was doing, you know, and he had the maximum dosage up as well to stay alive. And Dr. Mundo started to doing the Dr. Mundo things, getting tanky. Only have 1 item and a half, but it's just enough time to buy space for the team, right? And there's just so much damage from the rest of the side. As Seneca Swarm, they just collapse so fast. And unfortunately, I feel like this Heartsteel buy from Martha just not really paying off. 0 stacks on it so far. It is upgraded with the ornaments, but it's just, there's not a lot of opportunities to really stack this unless you're like side laning against the Mundo. But as a jungler, you're just not really going to even have that chance.
Yeah, and there are 2-3 melee champions on that side. Maybe they're just not getting into these fights long enough. You know, Sejuani's kind of one of those, like, you are going to ult, you're going to stick on somebody eventually, but they're not giving her the space, right? Like Marchstone is not getting the space, the ability to get in there and actually scrap and get any of these procs. So I think that's a really good job, as we do see on the minimap. Enchanted Crystal Arrow did go wide. Looks like they were trying to pick off Lucky once again, but that time he was, for lack of a better word, and didn't get hit by it. So good job just trying to do that. Sometimes that's one of those ultimates that I feel sometimes, like, just throw it, right? Like, it's on like a 50-second cooldown, maybe 45-second cooldown at this point. Like, just throw the thing and, you know, hope for the best. So Not always the worst idea, even though it missed. But yeah, it's unfortunate for that Heartsteel. I would have liked to see the Unending Despair maybe be the one that gets the upgrade, but I don't think that you can really choose which item on the Ornn. I don't think
It's
you can.
yeah, it's I believe it's the first whatever the first completed item is in that first
Okay.
slot, so you could customize it there. And again, I mean, I think yes, you want to give your carries the ornaments early, but I don't know about an upgraded Stormraiser. I don't know if that's the best upgraded item for it. I mean, I haven't seen the tier list for the ornaments in a while, but I feel like Stormraiser is probably of lower importance for upgrade item for Caitlyn. As you can see, Force Child just running around with some infected bone saws. But meanwhile, this topside jungle looking on the side of JRR just looking like it's starting to become Seneca Swarm's jungle, and they just have such great map presence throughout this map. They just came out, like, Lucky can't really even walk up to CS very easily with Force Child just throwing these infected bone saws. And meanwhile, TDD built a lot of armor, but that's not going to do as much into Juggernaut's AP build.
Yeah, no, it's not. And actually, a little bit of an outplay by Juggernaut here, and that might be a dead TDD. It is.
Yeah, Juggernaut.
Wow. It's quick.
Going to drop the Between the Worlds and just slowly chunking away at the Ornn. I mean, I think Juggernaut built this build just specifically for it as we get the TP out from the Syndra to get away to safety. But going just pure burn and magic penetration on the Aurora. I mean, recognizing that not only do you have the Ornn to contend with, but you have the Sejuani as well. And you have enough damage to take out the squishier carries anyway. So why not just go for some burn damage with these heavier tanks on the top side, which I think for a good call. Meanwhile,
100%.
the Syndra also going for some burn, which I think is a little bit unnecessary. Like, yes, you have Force Traveler to worry about, but everyone else on the side of Seneca Swarm can get bursted down if you build enough burst damage items. So going for the burn build on the Syndra instead, which is a little bit peculiar for a Syndra build, I would say. Yeah, and the Cosmic Drive.
It kind of feels like they want like the best of both worlds, but it's like jack of all trades, master of none kind of deal. Where I mean, I guess we'll see if it works. It works, but I'm kind of with you on this one. I think that maybe picking a path might have been better, whereas the Aurora definitely did pick a path. They're like, yeah, everybody on this team is going to build HP. So no matter what, Leandries and Blackfire are going to do a lot of work on their own. So I really do appreciate, like that aspect of the build path for her. Juggernaut is going to do so much damage to the Sejuani that like they can't even come up here and contest this dragon either. So it just feels like Seneca Swarm is in such a good spot right now, and I kind of feel like outside of the Caitlyn, they just have the better scaling as well coming into the late game. So Jolly Rogers, without a huge throw, like it just kind of feels like they're in like a slow, just a slow malaise. Like they're just gonna die soon.
Yeah, and I feel like part of it is they're just not as very confident on who to even target at this point, right? They're like trying to look for picks, but not really. And meanwhile, it looks like Seneca Swarm is just setting the pacing as we get Syndra being picked off in this bottom lane. You can see Seneca Swarm just on the offense the entire time, and Jolly Rogers, they're just sitting there on the defense. But if you look at the gold differential, it's not that big. It's 6K, but you have ornaments already kicking out right now for the rest of the team. So it's not really like you're that behind in golds. But I think just confidence-wise, it's not really there for Jolly Rogers, and maybe in a way, they have so many ways to start the fight too, right? They have the Sejuani, they have the Ornn, they have so much initiation, but it seems like they're just very content on just hugging the turrets for now and playing as safe as possible. Like, I feel like the way they're playing this makes it seem like the gold lead's bigger than it is, but it really isn't. And we'll see if they're able to kind of get over this rut or not, or play defensively long enough to find some good picks in some defensive fights.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's about 2.5 items over the course of 3 different champions, right? So it's 6K, it's definitely doable. And I think the one saving grace for the side of JRR right now is gonna be the Ornn. You know, TDD is doing a great job still up against Force Traveler, but yeah, I would like to see them maybe Death Ball. You know, like when you get behind like this, sometimes what you can do is just take the small advantage that you can build off of maybe just going sending all 5 right now. Let's go. Take out the Ashe or whatever. But it seems like Seneca Swarm are the ones that are playing with that sort of sense of urgency as another fight is breaking out.
Paranoia going to be used onto the Karma, and you can see Spring Roll trying to get out of it, but does not get out of it. Juggernaut going to be one to pick up that kill, and now you can see there's no damage in this fight. It's just a Sejuani and an Ornn, and unfortunately TD just going to have to let his jungler run away from it and try to get to safety. But the flash forward, the weirding, Juggernaut going to be godlike on this Aurora, doing so much damage, and unfortunately Lucky can only do anything but sit and watch from inside his base. TDD going to have to let this Baron go as well, as there's no jungler around, and the TP from Force Straddler just going to match the split pushing from Goat, and Goat's going to have to back off as well. Everything going the way of Seneca Swarm. I don't remember the last time they even got a kill on the side of Jolly Rogers.
It was early, and it was a failed turret dive. So I think it's been about 13, 14 minutes now. Yeah, you're right. It's been a long time, and that's just kind of like one of those things. What I would like to see out of Jolly Rogers at this point now is maybe just, hey, we're probably going to lose this one, but let's concentrate on what we can do to play from behind. Let's make sure that we keep everything, going well, and we keep our minds right, and we just maybe focus on the little things that we can do correctly, and kind of go from there. Because outside of the, like I said before, it's Seneca Swarm's game to lose now. Outside of them just like all walking mid and just not attacking and letting them have a couple of aces, this is probably not going to go their way. The cleanse is already burnt by Lucky now, and yeah.
And we can see the Paranoia coming through, and the Caitlyn is going to be instantly taken out, blown away. The Baron buffs are pushing deep into the base of Jolly Rogers, and they're looking to just claim everything right here. Maybe just the final fight, as there is going to be a shutdown onto Hades, and Hades is going to drop, but Ornn does fall shortly after, as the Glacial Prison is going to be thrown. Doesn't really hit anyone, but does slow up some members. So a very solid defense there. They get a couple shutdowns there. 2-for-2 trade, not too bad for the side of Jolly Rogers. They do pick off the jungler. The support not as crucial, but they live to fight another day.
2-for-2 with a huge shutdown on the Nocturne. That's going to feel like a 4-kill, like a 4-for-2 if you're on Jolly Rogers right there. And that is kind of like the mistake that you can potentially make there, is you sent your team for the kill, but you left your Mundo in the top lane, right? So if you're going to be shoving like that, you have to make sure that you can pull back from these plays. They didn't. The Paranoia sent Nocturne a little bit too far deep. And like you said, the big shutdown up against him. Caitlyn is now starting to get to the point where they're almost at their third item here. If they get another kill or at least another couple of waves, like, they could end up having enough to get this IE. And then once that's online, then you're looking at, like, Ashe needs to make sure that they're aware of their spacing. Are they going to be able to, get on top of them now, as Force Traveler still shoving this lane in here, doing his Mundo thing. But yeah, I think that if they're going to be going for plays like that, they need to make sure that they're all together. Because if you don't take them out and you give the 2-for-2, it's a huge win for JRFF to get that instead of the Seneca Swarm.
Definitely. And we get another Cloud Drake going over to the side of Seneca Swarm, and they are now on Cloud Soul Point. 4 Cloud Drakes is going to be quite a lot, as that Nocturne is going to be zooming across the map here. As meanwhile, the volley is going to land. Between Worlds is going to be dropped for some additional damage. I don't think it's going to be enough to actually do much. Just soften up the health bars of the side of Jolly Rogers. Jolly Rogers does have a pretty good sieging comp, so they could defend this for quite a while, even with the Baron buffed minions, just because of the Caitlyn alone just dishing out so much damage. So it is making this push a little bit harder for the side of Seneca Swarm. But inhibitors are still all intact, so it's not like Jolly Rogers is getting too much extra gold out of this. However, they can't really step out their base, so Seneca Storm still trying to make the most of this matchup as much as possible. Meanwhile, taking a lot of damage, and it's going to be Caitlyn just instantly going down. That's going to be so much of the damage just missing right off the bat, and you can see Mark going to drop shortly after. This might be the opening they need to close out this game.
Yeah, it might be, and that's just that's unfortunate, for Jolly Rogers there, but man, it just didn't go their way. I think that, you could probably look at this in a little bit of the, they had an idea earlier on of what they wanted to do. They wanted the roaming support, but you kind of gave a little bit too much as another fight is breaking out here. There you go.
All right, another Between Worlds is going to be dropped, and the Syndra going to be a first to fall down. It's just going to be the inhibitor, or the Nexus turrets left on this final siege. And you can see Rel just barely getting out alive. I feel like this Rel's just walk around on 2 HP in every single fight towards the end of it. But a few more autos will do as they're focusing the Nexus. And Nexus is indeed going to drop. Seneca Swarm takes the 1-0 lead over Jolly Rogers.
Yeah, it did, and just well performed. I think for the most part, there's a few times in this game where they kind of, let a little bit go, or they went a little bit too aggressive. But at the same time, in the end, I think that most of the time they had the right idea, right? Like they were going for, good dives as soon as Karma left, right? And just kept doing it over and over again. And like I was saying earlier, you trust the process. And so whoever their play caller, the coach, or for Seneca Swarm, like they have a good formula, and I hope that they stick to it, because whoever's calling these plays and making this happen, like, yes, it did fail, but we're gonna go back to it because we know it's the right thing to do. And sometimes sticking to the right thing to do when the results don't show is one of the hardest things to do. So a good solid 1-0 win for them. They took most of the objectives. They made cross-map plays when they had to, and I think they did the perfect thing. Like Hades on this Nocturne completely left his Mundo to just lose his lane, but it worked out so well in the end because the carries were able to do that. But now you don't have a Nocturne. What are you going to do? We've seen so many times where junglers go from like a Nocturne style jungler into I don't know what to do. So we'll see what goes on from there. But yeah, great showing from them, and it's particularly I loved the Nocturne and Hades. His play on that was huge for me.
Yeah, it seemed like that one Drake fight, I think it was when it was sole point for the side of Jolly Rogers. When they got aced, the game just was uncomebackable for them after that one. And maybe they just lost a lot of confidence in that fight too. But this is indeed a best of 3, so there's still more action at stake here. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back for game number 2.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another week of Titan Esports Top 5. This is week 4. Sorry, this one's coming out a little bit late in the week. Thank you guys so much for waiting for it. It's been a heat wave where I'm from. I'm in a blanket trying to survive. If there's a little bit of a fan going or MSI playing in your ear while I talk, it's been a big week. But it's also been a big week in Titan, so we're going to talk about it. Top 5 will still be coming out on time for next week. We're just going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the top 5 plays coming in at number 5. Coming in at number 5, we have a play from Flannel Esports versus Flannel Esports over in our Gladiator League. It's the battle of the sister teams in this one, and we're going to show you why you don't Death Realm in ADC late into the game without being able to go golden. It's an annihilation as Yunara transcends herself and walks down every member of Flannel. Not able to hit the Kaiser. The Kaiser going to be able to flash out of that. There's going to be Yunara transcending oneself, caught in the Death Realm. Going to be able to just annihilate that Mordekaiser. And then it's just the walk down of that Xin Zhao. Good night as Flannel Esports Fossils are going to take this game. Coming in at number 4, everyone talks about why macro is super important to this game, and it is. but sometimes you just have better hands. And this play is just simple beauty. Watch what this Aurora does while they're getting ganked. It's a thing of pure excellence. Take a look.
Crossing over.
Their bot lane's really softened up.
Let's go.
Huge.
Let's.
Coming in at number 3, Zahen does Zahen things. It's the 4th week in a row we have a Zahen play on this list. And you're going to see why. Once again, guys, ban this champion. Why did they buff him? Why did they buff him? We'll never know.
Oh, pay again. Is this illegal? Oh wait, no, never mind. Never mind.
Careful, 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 careful.
Careful, careful. I'm going.
I'm going.
Starner, just hit Starner.
Nice.
Starner. Fight back.
I'm like full out of this fight right now.
I'm fine. I'm fine. Oh, they're back fine?
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
Cool. Yeah,
Work with the hand, work with the hand. Hell yeah.
We're fine, we're fine. She's the last one. She's the last one. Good fucking...
Coming in at number 2, range is overrated when you have a Nyla on your team. This is a Nyla who just finds their way into the team fight, has a Lulu keeping them alive, and annihilates it with a pentakill. If you're going to send me a pentakill, it's going to make the list. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look.
Lulu flash, Lulu flash.
Yeah. I think we can end off with this. Oh. I'm gonna chase Malf. Just end.
No
Unless you want
penta.
Penta.
Wait. Let me get it.
No penta. Deny the penta.
No, get the clip.
Nice job, Ella.
Thank you.
She last kill.
Holy
I think Raptors are dodging me.
Of course, with every week, we do have our honorable mention. Some of the submissions came a little bit late this week, but we extended the time limit. Make sure you send your submissions in, as always, and let's take a look at these honorable mentions.
Oh, careful.
I think I'm dead here. I'm in there.
No, that's fucking game over.
Oh my gosh, GG.
Alright, let's push mid and take dragon.
It's nice.
Intuition.
Nice.
Oh my gosh. I don't think you need that many wards.
Alright, I'm reset top. I have ult.
Wait. Oh, on. Is this?
No, yeah.
Wait, Rise on the side. Look, Rise.
I'm looking Rise.
Yeah, I shield. We're good. Just keep playing.
What is my ADC doing?
Can we end? Can we?
And ladies and gentlemen, coming in at number 1, it's Jinx from Arcane. It's a team gathering around their ADC to make sure we get a second pentakill on this list. And honestly, this is just how you close out games. The gold gap isn't even that big of a deal at the moment. They have a Baron. They make a great Baron push. And honestly, sometimes the nice play is just doing a front to back. And this is what this team does excellently. There's no way anyone has a chance to kill this Jinx because everyone is just playing for her. I love it. I love to see it. Let's take a look.
I just don't know if Seneca Swarm can siege this because the range from the Jinx is no joke. You got TP available for Dylan as here comes the taunt. Doesn't land onto anyone here as the Eclipse does come through. The Zenith I should say. However, that just keeps the Jinx excited even sooner. That's a quadra kill for Himilicar. Maybe looking for the Penta Force. You better get out of there. But even if he does, I don't think there's a way that he can fully defend this as Zap not going to land onto the Gragas, but a few autos might do it. They're trying to feed the pentakill over to the Jinx, and that's going to do it for game number 1 as Vice City Brewmasters close it off on the high with the pentakill going for Himilicar.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was our list. Those were the top 5 plays from week 4. Week 5 gonna hopefully come out on time. Make sure you send the clips, whether it's to TI Romeo in the DMs or you post them in the stream clips. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Leave a like if you did. And other than that, I'm going to go try to survive this heat wave. So, thank you very much for watching.
Okay.
Welcome back, everyone, to Titan Esports. It's Divinity League, and we are just off the first game of Seneca Swarm versus Jolly Rogers Royal Fortune, and Seneca Swarm took a pretty dominant game one over Jolly Rogers. I'm Caleb Pang. I'm joined with Fel, and thoughts after that first game?
Yeah, I agree. I think that it was dominating it in the way that it was just a slow, methodical burn, right? Like they didn't do anything too crazy, too flashy. They made the right plays, they made the right calls, and they stuck to the system that they had agreed upon prior to the game starting. And I love that. I had said it a couple times during the game that like I like even when the results don't match what you wanted to happen, you still stick with the process, and they did. So hopefully they can do that in the next game as well, and continue that. And for Jolly Rogers, I think that they got a little out drafted. Maybe it just seemed like the two carries for the side of Jolly Rogers last game were just constantly under duress. There was the Nocturne, there was the Aurora, there was Roams, and then every time that Lucky was left alone on that Caitlyn, they were probably dying. You had the Ashe, you had Rel, you had Nocturne, everything. So I think that giving yourself a little bit of maybe a strong bot lane that actually is going to stay together and win that lane might behoove JRF if they want to win this game. And then on the other side, I like the fact that the Nocturne is off the table now, right? So you have to Seneca Swarm, Hades is going to have to figure out how to have that same impact without a global ultimate.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and you can see too, Jolly Rogers, they try to ban out Hype, right, in that bottom lane, and they're doing it again with the Jhin and Senna bans. But it didn't really seem to stop Hype too much. And I think just Hype didn't really do anything flashy, but just did everything that he needs to do in the lane, right? Yeah. Land your enchanted crystal arrows, but great engage from Elsword as well, too. I mean, that's not a lane that they're supposed to even win. With Karma Caitlyn, that's a pretty miserable lane to go into, but I think they played around that bot lane pretty well. And speaking of bot lane, they're going to pick up a Nautilus to kick things off on the side of Seneca Swarm. And maybe a very engaged champ that is comfort for Sword, and honestly, playing it well, it could be good. They're going to respond with a Leona pickup on the side of Jolly Rogers.
I would like to see an Alistair or a Tark or something. I don't know. The go forward engage against the go forward engage is going to end up basically coming down to your ADC. And I do like the Varus pick here. I think that that's going to work really well into the Nautilus. And yeah, I think that if Hype is able to just sort of like I guess now he's going to be on this Kaisa, if he's still kind of able to do the same thing where he doesn't have to do too much, but can just assist and be at the backside, and Jolly Rogers don't have anything to get into the back on top of him to make him uncomfortable, I think this game could potentially go the exact same way. So it does look like Seneca Swarm is going to go for another tanky comp here. They had the Rel, they had the Scion. I'll be interested to see what kind of jungler they go for, maybe like a Xin Shao or a Vi or something like that. But the Garen is going to be the answer to the Scion, and I absolutely love this pick. I think that Garen still, since the beginning of this game, has been a champion that has just been steadfast in that top lane and able to just take over games, whether split pushing or coming out with a stride breaker and crit and dealing damage. So I like this pickup from Jolly Rogers, and I'm interested to see on TDD, who is actually winning his lane 90% of that game on this Garen.
I'm surprised that Jolly Rogers didn't pick up their jungler yet, because they already have 4 jungler bans on the side of Seneca Swarm, where they had 3 before this, now adding a 4th there with the Malphites. And then they ban out 2 junglers themselves, so maybe Marthas has a pretty deep jungle pool. The Scion's going to be interesting as we get the Xin Zhao pickup, so not a bad pickup either. This could set up for a potential Trundle pickup, actually. That could be Trundle Scion could be pretty strong. There's no way they're going to pick up a Trundle themselves, too. They're going to pick up the Ahri to start things off for the mid lane, but they do have to pick out their jungler. But as I was saying, I don't think Sion's very strong right now on this patch. I know on MSI, that's the Pro Leagues, it's 0-6. Like, they haven't won a single game with it. Oh, they're going to pick up the Lee Sin. All right. It's going to be interesting. I don't know. Lee Sin into a Crescent Guard Xin Zhao is maybe not the best skirmishing power, but maybe just a champion that Hades is very comfortable on, and you look pretty comfortable on that Nocturne. So
and the Talia, like that's kind of a pain as well. Like if they could put their bricks down, at certain spots, it doesn't always have to be defensively for themselves. They can maybe get it with them, or wait for the Lee Sin to come in and try to like W out, and then as he tries to shift out, you can lay them down and stop him. And it's also strong into the Ahri, depending on the Fingers of Goat Theory, which I don't think played terribly last game. I think they just got comp diffed. So depending on how that goes, that mid lane matchup, like it's good into the Ahri as well. So he's going to be able to give them a lot of agency to roam around and kind of do their thing there. And I actually like Jolly Roger's draft a little bit better. The Lee Sin, especially after the Talia pickup, feels a little handicapped, maybe. But I guess we'll see as we go in here, as game 2 is about to start, and we'll see if anything crazy happens early on. I know last game Jolly Rogers ended up sending 3 together. We'll see if they kind of do the same in safety and numbers here, but looks like they're gonna be going for this again.
Kind of like the composition from Jolly Rogers a little bit more too. It just seems like they have a lot of counterplay, and the Talia is going to be very crucial in some of these fights, specifically the Unraveled Earth, like you said, too, right? Just stopping a lot of the dashing components. I mean, think about this too. Even the Kai'Sa, right? She's got some dashes as well, so you could really stop the mobility of the champion pool of Seneca Swarm, and I think it's a great pickup, honestly, for them to round things out.
Listen, if she ends up stopping a Kai'Sa ultimate, I'm gonna lose my mind on here, because that'll be absolutely that has to be like the most fortunate of timings for you, right? If you're able to do that, so that'll be cool to see. I really like the Talia pickup. That's another champion that I can't play to save my life. And I guess it'll be interesting to see kind of how it goes. And I do kind of feel like Seneca Swarms, outside of like maybe the Lee Sin, is a much easier comp to pull off, right? Like Sion, you can even make mistakes on that champion and still live and still be useful. You can go 0-10 and do the boss strat and go speaking of going.
Yeah, going to take a little exchange back and forth there, but nothing too consequential. Now, the main problem is Hype is the one that took most of the damage on the side of Seneca Swarm. Meanwhile, Springroll is a person that took damage on the side of Jolly Roger. So, going to keep a little bit more health on Lucky for the Varus is going to spell success for them potentially in the next skirmish. But we will see, as we do have the Ahri into the Talia. Dodging some of the seismic shoves is pretty big, and landing a charm too, going to do some good chunk damage in that matchup. The Unraveling Earth is going to play more favorably once level 6 is reached onto the Ahri. But we'll see how TDD plays out this matchup against Force Traveler. Force Traveler likes playing some of these scalar champions, which makes sense. And Force Traveler able to just kind of play safe even if behind on CS. So I don't think Garen has a lot of killing potential onto the Sion, at least. Does have Ignite, though, as one of the summoner spells.
Yeah, he does. And I think you're right. Probably not the biggest unless he ends up going like Stridebreaker into Phantom Dancer or something quick like that, right? Forest Traveler, I liked how he played the Mundo last game, like lose lane, win game, right? And that kind of selfless, composition is always nice to see, as we are going to get another skirmish in the bot lane here as,
All right, and then the flash forward is going to root up Lucky. Lucky is going to be ignited as well, and here comes Hades. Sonic Wave is going to land, and Springroll going to take a good chunk of damage, but they don't really have the damage to really finish this off as Marth now comes in, but kind of walk into all 3 champions. Here comes Goat Theory for some additional flanking potential, but unfortunately just a little bit desync from all sides of Jolly Rogers, and they're not going to secure up a kill despite the rotations.
No, but one thing that did happen is they ended up getting the scuttle, so Xin Shao's going to have a little bit better of a clear from that, and they didn't get too much, right? They got the flash out of Lucky on the Varus, and they expended the flash, and he has Hex Flash, so it's not huge for Sword, but that and the Ignite, so a little bit of extra ability to skirmish here, but they didn't see the Hex Flash into that brush, and now
Oh, and we get the first blood going over to Elsword on the Nautilus. Lucky, though, looking for the Kai'Sa. Unfortunately, oh, wait, actually does go down to maybe some burn damage. I'm actually not sure. Or maybe it was just some of the minion autos. And now Marth coming up to clean up the kills here. And Marth should be able to get this one. So, unfortunately, even though they got the first blood, it does go end up onto the Nautilus. And they trade 2 kills back. A kill and assist going over to Lucky, with Marth picking up that second kill. So, overall, a solid trade, though, for the side of Jolly Rogers.
Yeah, maybe Scorch. I have no idea how that kill. I was watching on the stream afterwards because it's on a bit of a delay. As Hades gonna get caught up on Spring Roll here, trying to get a cheeky invade, but not going his way. Does end up saving, I think, all of them as this fight is breaking out now.
Yeah, and here comes the Talia, but Goat Theory going to be charmed up to prevent some of that damage from coming out, and Hades does go over for the safeguard onto Juggernaut, but doesn't get out with his life. Maybe taking a little bit too aggressive a trade going back onto Spring Roll, despite the fact that unlikely the Leon is trying to take the 1v1 if help is not on the way, and help indeed did show up in time, and you can see Goat Theory taking up to that level 6 beforehand. Lucky just trying to hold off 1v2 right now. TDD doing a lot of damage, and Flash and Unstoppable Onslaught used from Force Traveler just to get to safety. I don't know if you need to use both there, but want to do it for the extra safety measure, I guess.
Yeah, and Cyrus in the chat is saying that it was three minion shots, but like they were so far behind that minion line, it took forever. That is the slowest death I think I've ever seen on camera. So awesome for them. And then yeah, like the Jolly Rogers playing much more cohesive. They are still doing the roaming support, right? And I do feel that they can end up in the same exact position. I do think Lucky, after that first game, is probably going to be like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, I know I can't push out. I can't, like, whatever. And they did wait to, like, shove the lane and make sure that they were, like, kind of safe there. So I do like that. It's a little bit of an adjustment from the side of Jolly Rogers there. And now that your Varus is ahead of this Kaisa, like they both scale really well, but it kind of feels like whoever ends up getting like that first one is going to be the one, you know? So far in this matchup, you know, Varus is getting the better of this. They do have a little bit of a CS lead. They have that kill that was crazy, and the assist afterwards. And Xin Xiao getting ahead against the Lee Sin, that's going to make the Lee Sin feel really bad coming up later on. But Hades looking for another spot on the bottom, but he's about to get collapsed on here.
All right, and here comes the Xin Zhao. Here comes the flash forward. Zenith Blade is going to land, and Lucky's going to be the one to pick up that kill. Things are not looking so hot for Hades in this second game, but this is exactly the start that Jolly Rogers needs. Meanwhile, the top lane too, Force Straddler, again, falling a little bit behind on CS, but has a scaling top laner, so maybe comfortable with in the position, just getting some of those stacks with the Soul Furnace and the Grass to get as tanky as possible, but TDD making the most of this matchup yet again. First Drake going over to the side of Jolly Rogers.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't mind seeing right here if maybe Hades goes topside, gets either a kill or forces TDD off the wave, and then they just shove and then just send Forrest over to the side to just proxy now, right? Like you're gonna end up losing this slowly but surely. You're gonna end up losing this turret, and you're gonna be giving TDD like all of this pressure and kills. So maybe just try the other way, and hopefully they go for a proxy for proxy at best. At worst, you know, you end up having to die and you do the cancer push strat. But as of right now, this lead is going to just balloon out of control if they don't do something about TDD here. And obviously, your bot lane is losing. Your mid lane is doing fine, but they're getting outroamed by Goat Theory. So my next look, if I'm Hades here, I want to get this top side, going somewhere here, as he is going for an invade, and I like the fact that Juggernaut has shoved the wave and is trying to answer along with the Lee Sin. And they might actually be able to catch March Stoner out, and if they do, that could be the avenue that they need to get back into this game.
Yeah, Force Traveler had to use the Ensemble Onslaught to get away from there, worried about the Demacian Justice. Meanwhile, the skirmishing is going to continue as the Dredgeline does land onto the Bears, and Bears just getting burned down. Killer Instinct comes through, and Kaisa's going to go for the kill, but again, the kill goes over to the Nautilus, unfortunately. And that's going to be two kills over a shutdown on top of it. Meanwhile, there's going to be a fight on that top side by the Grubs. Zenblade does not land onto Hype on the Kaisa, and they're trying to grab some plates on top of it. So even though they did get some kills, I mean, this goal going over to Nautilus is not really what they're looking for the spot lane of Seneca Swarm.
No, it's not. And Nautilus is one of those champions that, especially when played support, like, is not a tank, right? They're an we'll get back to this in a Juggernaut should be fine to get out of here. They're just gonna phase rush away, right?
All right. Go. Theory trying to go for it, but forcing the flash out from Juggernaut, and does land the charm. Elsor thinking better of it instead of going for that dredge line for the hook. But as you were saying.
Yeah, so Nautilus is one of these champions that they're not super tanky, and getting them a lot of items usually doesn't amount to them becoming a super tank like other champions, but they are an engaged machine. So you're right. This is one of those times around the rel. I'm like, yeah, take it. But another fight coming up.
All right, Crescent Guard going to be popped, and Elsor's going to be the first to fall, as Spring Roll is going to be one to pick up that fight, and Hades going to have to run for it. There's just not enough damage between these two. They does land a fantastic charm onto Marth. Dreaded Volley is going to start chipping away at the health bar. Xenoblade comes in, though. They're looking for a potential re-engage as Juggernaut is stunned up, but maybe a slight miscue as the Safeguard does get Hades back to safety for now. And it just looks like the side of Seneca Storm doesn't really have enough damage to contend in a lot of these fights. They're finding the fights they might be looking for, and they're laying the CC, but they just can't finish off any of these kills.
No, they can't. I think you're going to have to wait until you get Malignance on the Ahri, and you're going to have to wait until you get at least the Kraken onto the Kaisa, and then maybe the Eclipse or whatever Hades ends up going here. You're going to need something along with the front-loaded damage of the Lee Sin to finish off these fights, because otherwise you're going to keep having that. So I think maybe trying to, instead of engage over and over again and do what they're doing, go over to, just waiting and keeping these things. Like I love what Forest Traveler's doing here. Yes, he's taking a lot of damage from the Garen, but making sure that Garen can't get in melee range of that turret is huge right now. And so Forest Traveler, even though they're on the losing lane, they're playing this relatively well and doing the best that they can here.
Yeah, trying to build up that Sunfire as well. So the bombing center is definitely going to help him with this wave clear bit. As you can see, TDD just constantly trying to crash these waves in as much as possible, put on the aggression. And that's the thing with Garen, right? When you don't have mana too, you could just keep spamming away your spells. Meanwhile, Force Child is trying to juggle as much as possible, but always constantly out of mana. Does have the TP and Unstoppable Onslaught to get back in the lane pretty quickly at this point. And, all things considered, not that behind in CS compared to the last game. And again, you're just playing for your team, maybe on that weak side, but as long as you have health in the late game, you can make some plays. Speaking of plays, here comes the Sonic Wave. Resonating Strike is going to land, and the charm is fantastic. Juggernaut going to pick up that shutdown onto that mid laner.
That is the fourth charm that we've seen land that has been like big, and then it finally amounts to a kill. So good job by Juggernaut. To just staying consistently hitting these charms is absolutely huge. And Hades, like we were talking about earlier, with front loading the damage on the Lee Sin, and then the Malignance on the backside, just enough, to get Ahri just that little bit of extra damage that she needed there. So nice clean play, forced them exactly where they wanted to. I don't think that Goat Theory knew that the Lee Sin was anywhere near there, because they did kind of walk over into him. But yeah, just good heads up play. And now you got to set this up. She is already back thanks to the teleport. So now it's just the skirmish here first.
Right, Xenoblade is going to land, but here comes the Resonating Strike from the side of the Lee Sin. But Hades just got instantly blown apart, just was 1v4 in that situation. And now Juggernaut is going to go down to Goat Theory. And the whole collapse from the side of Juggernaut, Jolly Rogers is huge. But here comes the Killer Instinct, and Hype does take one back. But the Hype overextend or not. Here comes the Audacious Charge, forcing the flash out from the Hype. And I don't know if they have enough to dive this. They might just settle for the Drake. And it looks like that's exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah, great play. And guys, he is so close to dying right there. But the correct play. Just take what you're given. Scion roaming mid to get the pressure there. Just good job overall from Jolly Rogers. This TDD is just going to be getting huge. This is a big swing in terms of CS and growth for him. It does look like they're going to try to answer with the Lee Sin on the top finally, potentially. But we'll see if they can even kind of get this now, as Dragon's going to go over to the side of JRFF. And a little bit of a scare on to the Nautilus, but no follow-up. Sorry.
No, you're good. I'm surprised they didn't actually follow up on Nautilus, but they don't have really vision where Hades is at this moment in time, so maybe thinking that it might not be worth collapsing on just a lone support. Meanwhile, there is no gank on the top side just quite yet. I think the problem is TDD is pretty hard to kill. I mean, he doesn't have a full item completed up yet, but Garen's just not easy to lock down too, and just his passive keeping him alive in lane, it just make things pretty difficult. As you do have the cleave damage coming through to help him wave clear even more. Juggernaut taking a lot of damage from the Threaded Volley, but going to land some of that back, and Seismic Shove not going to land onto Juggernaut. So overall, solid trade still for Juggernaut.
Yeah, and they're going to be getting out of here. Sword kind of roaming up here. Once again, they just kind of, opposite of the last game now, it kind of seems like Spring Roll has been more, I'll sit with my ADC, and Sword has been all over the place. But yeah, just nothing to get out of that. A little bit too much front-loaded damage against Go Theory. They do the right thing and they get out of the lane there. This R is starting to do a lot of chunk damage every single time that they land a charm. So something that they're gonna have to be cognizant of and ready to deal with later on is now TDD just putting the damage on the Forest Straddler here. Does have the Stride Breaker complete, but also the Sunfire Aegis is done for the side of Scion, and we know that there's infinite scaling on for Scion with his W passive. So we'll see here as they come in.
Here comes the Spear Rush, and the Threaded Volley is going to do not much damage at all, as Hades going to pick up that kill. Gother is starting to give up the lead that he had earlier on, and that's 1-1-2 now for the Ahri. Here comes the Audacious Charge to close the gap, and it's going to be the Nautilus that's going to be stunned up, but you can see Hype doing a good job of just doing damage from the backside. Crescent Guard is going to be popped, and it's going to be the Nautilus that first drops here. Let's see if Lee Sin's going to go in on this or not, and here comes the Lee Sin, but just going to get stunned up right away, and the Safeguard back to the Kaisa is going to just bait Hype up into another death, unfortunately, and they take a 3-for-0 trade on this bot side for Jolly Rogers.
Yeah, and they had listen, you're not going to get something out of every play, right? And they had the escape out. Like, Nautilus dies, yes, and then Hades is there to make sure the Kaisa doesn't get dove, and then, yeah, it just kind of goes a little bit too far away. Springwell with a really good, well-timed flash there to make sure that they didn't get kicked back into the Kaisa, but then to take the ultimate there and actually get like melee range into Markstoner and Springroll, probably not the best idea. So just an unfortunate series of events for Seneca Swarm over the last little bit, as they also lose their top tower here. And just things not looking great for them, is now Theory gonna get out of here and get themselves to safety, as Jolly Rogers getting another objective for themselves. That's 2 dragons and the Rift Herald, and I think they got the grubs, or yeah, I think they got the grubs too. So this has just kind of been like a complete turnaround 180 from game 1 now, as they're dropping this and they're looking to open up this map even further. They have tier 1 top. Looks like they're going to break this open for the tier 1 in the middle, and then potentially take this over for the tier 2 as well, as yes, they are going to slam this in here.
Yeah, they're going to get a second crash. Wave coming through as well. And unfortunately, I don't know if they can fight this. As Marth is on 2 items. Here comes the Dragon's Rage though, but the Crescent Guard is going to be popped. Marth taking a lot of damage, and there's going to be a shutdown. That's massive gold going over to Force Traveler. Meanwhile, Force Traveler does die in return, but it's just a lone Scion, so it's not too bad. That was definitely a very necessary kill, though, for the side of Seneca Swarm, as there was a lot of shutdown code here, and here comes the Resonating Strike going back into TDD. But again, they're just locked up with the Weaver's Unraveled Earth, I should say, and Hades just has nowhere to go. Every time he goes in, he just can't get out of these fights and just doesn't do enough damage to kill anyone. He's quite behind on items, too. As you can see, Marth, despite dying there, is already on 2 full items on this Xin Zhao, making him quite the skirmishing beast.
Yeah, he is, and the other thing too is that taking your seismic into a Garen just to get silenced, so that you can't even do any of your combos. So TDD played that fight really well. They probably could have even gotten more off the back of that if they had like maybe one more member with them, and just were able to just chase down here. Is now. He's getting the Garen treatment, right? They're sending 2, they're sending 3, they're sending 4, and it's not going to be long until Jolly Rogers adapts to this strategy and they start getting their own. They're going to start making plays everywhere else, because now Sword is sitting on the back of this. They are going to commit to this tower dive here, and we'll see what ends up happening.
All right, there's a lot of health bar to be used up for the Scion, as they're dropping everything on here, and TDD still somehow gets out for the time being, flashes away. They burned a lot of skills there. Onslaught was not used up to lock him up even further, so maybe could have done a little bit more to guarantee the kill, but they're at least going to get some plates in the process. Going to try to get the full turret maybe, but for trial, they're going to take a lot of damage, and meanwhile, they're going to trade over Chemtech soul points to the side of Jolly Rogers, and Jolly Rogers still in firm grasp over this game.
And they're going to get the tier 1 bot. So not only did you end up using, I guess, just the Ignite from the Nautilus, so an Ignite for a flash out of the Garen, that's pretty cool, but yeah, you end up trading a tier 1 top for a tier 1 bottom when you've already lost your tier 1 in your own top lane, and then the Dragon on top of it. And like you said, they're on soul point now, and Chemtech is huge. It's going to be so useful for Jolly Rogers. So now that becomes something that Seneca Swarm is basically going to have to maybe even throw the game over. It might be worth throwing the game over instead of trying to let this to go for a elder flip later on, because if Jolly Rogers, from as far ahead as they are now, get this this Chemtech Soul like this quickly, it'd be really devastating for the side of Seneca Swarm. So they have been put completely on their backside this entire game, and this is just a huge turnaround for Jolly Rogers. And I like seeing the resiliency of this team come through here, as it looks like they're getting baited into another play potentially.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a role reversal from last game, too. I think the only difference is Seneca Swarm is taking these fights as if they were just as fed as last game, but it's not the case, and because of that, they're just getting constantly team wiped or just losing a lot of these engages. I think at this point in time, they're just going to have to farm up before this Chemtech Soul pops, and maybe even consider giving it up. They're still too far behind, because a team wipe there could mean that they lose half their base, maybe at least 2 inhibitors in the process, or maybe even their Nexus turret. So they're going to play this safely, as Goat Theory is going to take a lot of damage after getting charmed up. Meanwhile, this bot lane, the top laners are in the bot lane skirmishing a bit, and there's just nothing that Force Traveler can really do to kill TDD, I think, in this situation. But it's getting to the point where Force Traveler is a little bit hard to kill himself, as he's just stacking up the armor. I mean, why not? There's just not that much AP damage, as Unstoppable Onslaught is going to land, but Demacian Justice is available, and the Ignite has been used onto Sion. Let's see if he's able to get that kill or not. And no, I think both top laners just going to get back off for the time being. A few grass taps for a Force Traveler, nothing too big lost there.
Yeah, it's like Garen's a sledgehammer, but Sion is just like a reinforced rebar concrete wall, so he's just not getting any play on it. Like little cracks in the foundation there for him. But yeah, he's just not able to do anything. I think at this point, you're right. It's going to come down to who is going to be the first to respond to get a second there, or who's going to win the 4v4 on the other side of the map. Because as of right now, I don't think that there's much that Garen can do. Obviously, there's nothing that Sion can do, because TDD just has to walk away for 4 seconds and it's going to be almost back up to full health. So I like what they're doing here, and I like how Force Straddler's playing this, especially from as far behind as he is. But that being said, the rest of their team is kind of like here, as they are going to get a small engage on the TDD, but here comes the re-engage.
All right, Marth looking for a collapse, as here comes the Chain of Corruption. It does land onto Sword, and it's going to be a quick kill for Lucky. And that means that they might look to even go for Baron, as you can see they're pinging it. Juggernaut is in the area, though, but Juggernaut might be sandwiched if he stays there a little bit too long. And you got to think that they have vision of this or see that it's coming. Juggernaut just going to just skirmish with Goat Theory for a little bit, but they look like they're going to collapse onto Juggernaut. There still has the Spirit Rush available and is going to use some of those charges. It doesn't look like they're going for the Baron at all. Instead, they just want to fight in the jungle, and Crescent Guard is going to be popped to mitigate as much damage as possible. Hades is going to be the first to drop in this fight, and things are not looking good at all for Seneca Swarm. Lucky's going to pick up a kill onto the Kaisa. That's going to be a double kill as the Sion drops shortly after, too, and the gold lead is starting to balloon on the side of Jolly Rogers. It doesn't look like Seneca Swarm could really take a fight at all if they're not around a turret.
Yeah, this 6K feels so much stronger than the 6K from last game, right? And I think it's about at the same time, too, where Seneca Swarm had a 6K gold lead. It was like 42 to 48. But yeah, this one just feels, this is so daunting. I think that Seneca Swarm, I don't know if they were just playing with, their feeling from the last game or what, but they have been completely uprooted in this game right now, and everything is going Jolly Rogers' way. And after picking up that Baron and then just collapsing and just getting everything they want, I think if you're Seneca Swarm, Juggernaut doing a really good job, but this bot lane ended up just getting kind of trounced in this one, unfortunately, and Sword is just kind of here once again. Like
no man's land, but here comes Juggernaut as well for the potential save. I don't think you're able to save Sword, but can you save yourself at this point? As it's going to be Springworld that picks up the kill with the Solar Flare. And this looks like it's just going to be Chemtech Soul, unless there's a way that Hades can make a miraculous steal. He's going to have to give his life up in the process if he wants to go for it at all. But I think he might think better of it and just going to focus on his Raptors. I mean, there's still a little bit of time. However, there's a lot of vision. Springworld is in the area for a potential lockup onto Hades, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Hades is going to be stunned up. Here comes a flash forward from Marth, and Crescent Guard going to be popped early, and Hades just going to be blown apart between the top laner and jungler of Jolly Rogers. And Spirit Rush going to get Juggernaut out to safety for now, getting a little bit of damage there. And with Baron buff, Chemtech Soul pushing against the space and the level advantages, the item advantage they have, it's going to be a hard siege for the side of Seneca Swarm. But they look like, oh, wait, hold on. They're trying to turn it on to the side of Jolly Rogers, but that's just, oh, wait. Killer Instinct actually goes in. I don't know about this play, Hype, and Hype, unfortunately, does go down. Almost trying to take out TDD, but that's a Fed Garen with a solid level advantage on top of it. 209. 400 gold shut down, and yeah, I mean, Seneca Swarm just not find the picks they're looking for, and now they're about to get sandwiched again from Marth and Go Theory, but I think Marth is just going to get out of that one.
This is a 2 items in shot that's hitting like a Fed 80 carry, man. He's just so far ahead of Hades at this point. 2 levels of almost, I mean, it's not even a full item ahead now, but it just feels like so much more. I mean, that 2-level advantage is absolutely huge, and yeah, it's just Seneca Swarm just not doing what they need to be doing. You know, to cover over from game 1, and it just seems like they're kind of playing like with the same style of composition, but they don't have the same style of composition, if that makes sense. So Jolly Rogers have, oh my god, yeah, Lucky just gets another Chain of Corruption into into an arrow that just deletes in Hades.
Yeah, Hades
Also
just going to
down,
be
yeah.
burned down, and Go Theory, I believe, is the one that picked that up. The charm under turret is pretty massive, and Mark does actually go down to Juggernaut. Juggernaut putting on a performance, but Juggernaut can only do so much by himself, as I think this will be the game. Still about 18 seconds left on the Kai'Sa respawn. But the Baron buff is gone, so maybe they can't get as much out of it as they would like, as Force Traveler is in the area to try to clear up this wave as much as possible. Kai'Sa is going to be spawning up soon, but these turrets are going down fast. As you can see, Lucky trying to shred through it as much as possible. Destiny Smash is going to knock up only the Leona. Here comes TDD with some additional damage, and Force Traveler just getting bounced around in the bounce house. The Demacian Justice is going to take out Force Traveler before TD ends up dropping himself, but now without much minion waste, it's a little bit hard to take this, but maybe not, as TDD picks up a, oh wait, no, that was a kill from earlier, but it's actually Lucky that picks up the kill onto the Nautilus. And it's still 3 members strong on the side of Jolly Rogers. They're still trying to end this game, but 3 members have spawned back up. Juggernaut is going to be the key here, as Resonating Strike does go in. But again, the Lee Sin just can't do anything the moment we jump in. Goat Theory does finally go down. Gives a little bit opening for the Kai'Sa and for the Ahri. That's going to be a shutdown going over to Hype. A triple kill. Not who you want gold going into the pockets of. And looks like Seneca Swarm still live to fight another day.
A big play by them, and who knows, maybe it was the wrong idea to stay. You overextended a little bit. I don't hate the call because they were this close to finishing it, you know, and it probably could have went either way, but a great job. This is kind of like going back to earlier when we were talking about Sword getting those first 2 kills. Can you imagine if this was a 7-5 Kai'Sa instead of a 5-5 Kai'Sa? You know, it's unfortunate with how that kind of went down. I do think that actually did have a lot to do with the power creep, you know, of this Kai'Sa. So now, like, it's getting to the point where if they are able to turtle, though, and they can just make Jolly Rogers overcommit and just claw their way back into this game and maybe get like an Elder Steal or something crazy, or they can just, you know, turtle this one out until, you know, 40 minutes, there could be a chance for this, but and this is going to be the test for Jolly Rogers. I mean, you know, this is another team that has been struggling all season, along with Seneca Swarm. So how good are they at closing out games? And maybe this is one of their bugaboos. I don't know because I haven't seen them play a lot, but this potentially could end up being something that you know, it's not over yet.
No, definitely not. I mean, you can see too, Hype on the Kai'Sa actually has the same items as Lucky, but some extra components on top of it, just because of those shutdowns alone, right? You have half the amount of kills and less than a quarter the amount of assists, but those shutdowns were absolutely crucial to get Seneca Swarm back in this game. And Juggernaut has been strong throughout the game, right? It's just that the rest of the team hasn't really been able to follow up on the damage. Particularly Hades just goes in there, gets stunned up, silenced, everything, right? Unraveled to earth. And it's just a tough game for Lee Sin just to play into in general. But if they can find another few picks here or there, like that last game, or like that last fight, it could be good, as it looks like they're turning their attention to Baron with Elder spawning in 50 seconds. I do like this play because if they can have to put lanes push in, this Elder Steal or this Elder Dragon is going to be much easier for Jolly Rogers to take out. But I think the side of Seneca Swarm, they know it's coming, and they want to look to potentially engage. Sion's just nowhere nearby, though, unfortunately, and there's just no way they could even seal this, as Baron is going to be cleaned up from Jolly Rogers yet again. I mean, that's every objective so far going in their favor. Rift Herald, Grubs, the whole 9 yards, and they're looking to try to close this out with one final Elder Dragon with 20 seconds left to spawn.
Yeah, but it does seem like they've kind of slowed down. It does seem like the momentum kind of crashed at that overstay in the mid lane, over by the Nexus turn. So those have respawned now. So those are both sitting at half health, and that's another obstacle that they're going to have to re-engage over. But you do have TDD. He's creating all the pressure that he needs to in the top lane. They have swarmed around and created some vision for themselves here. So it does look like they're going to try to collapse on the TDD here and then see what they can end up doing here. But they are going to concede the Elder Dragon if this fight. If they do end up coming in as 5, it's gonna be really hard with the Elder and all 4 Drakes on top of it for Seneca Swarm to really do anything. But here comes the hero play, right? You want junglers every once in a while do crazy things, so we'll see if he can pull this off.
Primrose trying to buy a little space for her team, but she's actually a little bit too far positioned, I think. There's still about 6k health onto this Elder Dragon, and here comes the TP from TDD, and I think Hades just determined to just give his life for the cause, but doesn't even do anything with it, as here comes the Demacian Justice, and TDD is going to take out Hades. Nothing Hades can do about that, as the Zenith Blade does connect onto Juggernaut, and here comes the Killer Instinct from the Kaisa, but I think Hype just maybe bit off a little bit more than he can chew, as the rest of the team is not there. Trying to go for the hero play, but unfortunately not going to be the case, and this should be the final push for Jolly Rogers. They got Exodia, right? They got Chemtech Soul, they got Baron buff, they got Elder, and they got 5 members up, completely fed compared to just a Scion and Arya. I don't think there's any miracle that can stop this from ending the game, but we will see, as Juggernaut and Force Child are trying their best. And Juggernaut played a fantastic game, but can only do so much when the rest of the team is so behind. And that's going to be Jolly Rogers picking up the second game. We're headed to a game number 3.
Yeah, we are. And what an answer from Jolly Rogers. That's exactly what you want to see. If you're their coach, you're so just happy / proud / whatever. And if you're on that team, this is, like we were saying earlier, these teams all these players still have something to play for, right? They still, even if playoffs are a long shot or an afterthought, you still have your pride. You still have, tape that you can put together for other teams and stuff. So, they didn't just back down. It was a good, resilient comeback from them. And now both of these teams need to go to the drawing board and they need to see what they can do. I think that Seneca Swarm still tried to kind of play like they were ahead from game 1, right? You had Hype that was just a little bit overextended sometimes. Sword making some weird engages, but it was kind of working. I like that Jolly Rogers adapted to the fact that they knew that that Lucky was going to get jumped on, and they always seem to have somebody coming down. What I would like to see in game 3 actually is a jungler go to the top lane and try to get one of those ahead, because I feel like if TDD didn't just have free reign to just shove and do whatever he wanted to force Stradler on the Scion, that maybe it could have been a little different, because you get Scion fed and then he just becomes unkillable, and kind of like the Mundo from game 1 where you could just make plays happen just by being tanky. So I think whatever team is kind of losing the bot lane, jungler, just go to the other side and make the cross map play, good comeback win, and I'm excited to see what Game 3 has in store for us.
Yeah, definitely. And Juggernaut was actually fairly ahead, I feel like, in that early game in the mid lane too. So even if you're not trying to help out Force Child too much, you can at least try to snowball the Arya bits. It is not a great matchup, especially with the Unravel Earth. I think overall this comes down to a big draft diff as well, right? Sound just not as strong this patch, and then Lee Sin, Ahri, Kaisa, you can't really play into that Talia very easily. Fantastic pickup and mid lane choice from the side of Jolly Rogers. So they still got fight in them, and that means we are headed to a game number 3. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back for our third and final game between Seneca Swarm and Jolly Rogers Royal Fortune. Welcome back, everyone, to Titan Esports Divinity League, and we are headed to a game number 3 between Seneca Swarm and Jolly Rogers Royal Fortune. Pretty interesting back and forth. Seneca Swarm with a dominant game 1, and then Jolly Rogers responded with a very dominant game 2. So I really have no idea how this is going to go into the third game, but I think this draft for Seneca Swarm game 2 really hurt them a bit, and we'll see if they pick it up here for the third game.
Yeah, so we were discussing earlier in game 1, what's more embarrassing, picking B1 and having it suck, or picking R5 and losing your counter. But like that shows, like, sometimes the R5 was definitely that Talia pickup. I don't think that Seneca Swarm was prepared for that at all. I don't think that they even like had an idea that that was a thing. That's like almost like a Poppy coming out at the same time, where like after you've already picked Rakan and Xin Shao and you're like, oh no, so like that's that was huge. And Go Theory played it really well, and Juggernaut also played it really well. You said it multiple times towards the end of the game, like they had a great game on the Ahri, but they just weren't enough with as ahead as Jolly Rogers had gotten. So yeah, no, this series so far has basically been like Raffle Stomp into Raffle Stomp, but just opposite ways. So it's going to be good to see who comes out with the bigger adaptation, because I feel like Seneca Swarm stuck to their game plan from game 1, but it just didn't work in game 2. They just kind of got, like you said, outdrafted a little bit, and then kind of just stuck to the same thing, but you didn't have all of the same stuff happen in game 2 that happened for them in game 1, and then vice versa. Jolly Rogers looked like they were completely lost in game 1. I was almost at the point where I was like, is this just like a complete mismatch? But round 2 they come out and they looked even better than Seneca Swarm did game 1. So it's going to come down to who can adapt to the playstyle in mid game and who can do something to change what they've already been trying to do.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that was Hades. Just that Lee Sin looked unplayable, right, for him. Like, I don't know what you could do, right? Before even the Talia was drafted, it looked hard for Lee Sin to play. And once the Talia was drafted, it made it look impossible. As we are headed to a third and final draft. Again, as a reminder, it is Fearless, so all those grayed out champions in the bottom are not eligible for draft. We'll ban out an additional 10 champions after the complete ban phase, but first off, we're going to ban out 6, 3 on each side before the first set of 3 are picked up. And again, they're just focusing on a lot of the jungler bans. And it seemed like Mart's jungle pool is still pretty deep, right? Still played out to Xin Zhao and looked pretty good on Xin Zhao. And I wonder if part of it is maybe spending so much of your bans on the jungle bans on the side of Seneca Swarm. They've banned out maybe some champions that Hades could have played as well. And was end up stuck on a Lee Sin that maybe was not maybe ideal. As we get the 2 AD carries still banned out, the Jhin and the Senna. All I gotta say is Hype's Jhin and Senna must look godlike for them to command 2 automatic bans right off the bat for every single one of the draft. But that is going to be the case for the third game straight.
Yeah, no, it's got to be one of those pocket picks that we just either don't know about, or like it's well known and we're just not paying attention. As Yunara's going to get picked out, we're going to have a hyperscaler into the late game. We may actually see an enchanter on this one. I know Karma was picked in game 1, but she never really was able to do much for Jolly Rogers. Springroll never really got to the point. They roamed a lot, and then Lucky just kind of got sat on by Seneca Swarm. So going to get the Yunara here, and the answer is going to be the J4. So strong engage, and then there's an enchanter for me on the back side of this for Seneca Swarm. So they do have their support locked in. They don't want Yunara to have it, so I 1000% agree. Take the Lulu here, get it to your AD carry, and it's going to be a Braum on the other side. So some good lockdown potential and a lot of, especially in the late game, protection for this Yunara. And the Maokai jungle is going to come out as well.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of lockdown so far on the side of Jolly Rogers, a lot of CC, but I love that pick of the Luda just to deny it from the side of Jolly Rogers. And they're going to pair it up with a Jinx, so another hyper carry themselves. They're missing a little bit of front line. So we'll see kind of how they dance around this, as they probably will have a tank top. Unlikely going to be a tank mid, but you could pick up Galio. And Galio is actually not too bad in this particular composition. They do have the counter pick as well. So let's see if they leave it up for Juggernaut or for Force Traveler. I feel like Force Traveler is pretty content on playing weak side throughout the series, and it's been pretty good as we get Cho'Gath and Yorick bans out. So a lot of focus on that top lane. Mel going to be the ban. And then one final ban for Jolly Rogers. Let's see if they target
smart.
Force Traveler or Juggernaut.
Yeah, that's probably smart with the Super Mega Death Rocket being able to be rebutted back in your face. Like you definitely don't want that. And yeah, so they're taking the Lulu away and making sure. I kind of would have liked to have seen like maybe Emilio instead of a Braum, just to give Yunara that extra little bit of oomph. But she does have an auto attack reset with her Q. You know, you're able to stack that Braum passive, and it's going to be a Hui in the mid lane for Juggernaut. And I'm excited for this, mainly because Juggernaut has been the bright spot in both of the games. They did really well. Ooh. It's going to get answered by the Xerath. So I love this matchup just because it's, or mainly for the fact that, like, Xerath has the ability to sort of be like almost like a Karthus, where you can just go a little bit off of the lane and be present in both of your side lanes. Whereas, Hui can absolutely dominate the lane, and if he gets a kill early on and gets like a CS lead or maybe like a really strong gank from Hades here, and Juggernaut could completely take over this game, whereas the Xerath can also kind of do the same thing, but probably not as well, but they are able to kind of be in all of the different spots. As we're going to get rounded out with the Rumble for TDD, which that's a lane bully, and we've seen what TDD's been able to do so far. And then Forest Traveler's going to have, finally, we're going to be putting him on something besides a control tank up in the top lane, and they're going to let him kind of just go, go buck wild on this set.
Yeah, I mean, here's the tough part, right, for Force Traveler, and I don't know if it's going to be the case again for a third game or not, but TDD's definitely had the better of the matchups in the head-to-head in the early game, so keeping Force Traveler just behind throughout the series. And I think if that's the case again for Set, then it's not going to be as big of a deal. But if Force Traveler somehow takes some great early trades and is ahead of TDD or is even, this Set on the sideline is going to be a huge problem, right? Because late game Rumble, I don't think could really match up that easily versus Set. But who else can you do it with? It's not going to be the Xerath. And I think Set, just in general, could build some magic resist because that's a lot of the damage that's coming out from the side of Jolly Rogers outside of really that Yunara. So,
passive.
Yeah, and if you pick up that Maokai and just drop it onto Yunara and Xerath, that could be the game right there. So we'll see. A lot of it's going to rest on the hands of Force Traveler, I think, in this game. So, but we are headed to a third and final game. A lot on the line for both teams as they try to figure out how to play out this one. It's going to be Seneca Swarm on that red side this time.
Yeah, and I do think I'm interested. I'm trying to look over here, like what the relationship between Showstopper and Twisted Advance is. Like if he gets a Showstopper off, but Twisted Advance also, because that cancels out a lot of things, and you see some really weird interactions. Is we're gonna get a level 1 skirmish here in the bot lane.
All right, and the Jinx Rockets are starting to really chunk away on the health bars of the Braum and Yunara, and Lucky just trying to do a little bit of damage back, but that's a pretty aggressive trade early on. It's really paying off for Seneca Swarm to start things off.
Yeah, it is, and that is not what you want. I kind of thought they were going to keep going because they did get 2 auto attacks off onto Sword. You get 2 more, and you're able to, pop your Q off on Lucky. But yeah, those rockets, when you're standing next to each other and you're doing double damage on this Jinx, that's absolutely huge. And that's going to be big for them. As we can see, they're already getting to a point where they might actually be pushed off of experience, not just the CS. And we see this a lot, from like Vayne tops or Teemo tops, where they'll just completely just farm off of, or they'll just keep you completely off of experience, not just the farm. So great job by Seneca Swarm's bot lane right now, and that is something that on a champion like Jinx, getting ahead like that is absolutely huge. So we'll see if they can keep this one going, as level 2s are about to pop out here.
Yeah, Hype doing a great job of spacing as well and just outranging this Yunara as much as possible. Here comes the Zap, is going to land on Spring Roll as well. And this early game lane, I mean, look at this 0 CS on the Yunara to start things off. Like, obviously, it won't stay 0 at the whole time, but they're already crashing a wave into this turret. And, because of that early health deficits from that skirmishing, it's just made it really hard to CS in lane. Meanwhile, Goat there going to take a little bit of damage from Juggernaut in this main, but that's so many minions just crashing in here. And the Zap going to land out the Spring Roll yet again, 17-2. Let's see how many CS Lucky is able to pick up here, but you can see they're just making it very hard for this bot lane to even CS and walk up to the wave, even under turret.
Yeah, she even had to miss out. Lucky had to miss out on the cannon there as well, which just feels absolutely terrible. So this is this is a clinic of they overstepped it at the level 1. This is how you punish them, especially with champions like Jinx and Lulu, where you're gonna have a lot of damage mitigation for the Lulu or from the Lulu for the Jinx, and then just the ability to just kind of shove, and they can't group up because you take double damage from those rockets. So this might be the game where we see the Maokai going over to the top side, but they are both of these jungles are passing over to the bot side like they have been, and now a little bit of a reprieve for this bot lane here for the side of Jolly Rogers is they do get Sword to roam over on this Lulu a little bit. So
yeah, I think they're playing carefully, not knowing the Lulu was in the bush or not. But you can see Lucky, I mean, catching up a little bit on CS, but still going to be ahead with the zap. And the Tromper's going to be late, not going to stun up anyone. And still going to take a lot of damage though in this trade as the wave is starting to bounce a little bit back towards the side of Seneca Swarm. So maybe able to walk a little bit outside of turf for now. No summoners have been dropped yet, but it's starting to get close to it as Hype going to be running out of mana on this Jinx, so maybe can't harass nearly as much as possible. Hades is there for some additional assistance in that tri-bush if possible, but the ward is going to spot him out. So Lucky and Spearow not going to walk up there. These zaps have like 100% land rate onto that Braum so far, and just making this life for this Braum as difficult as possible in this early game.
Yeah, and especially at level 1, that Unbreakable does not offer as much damage mitigation as it does later on, obviously, as you level up, but it doesn't feel as strong here, as you can see, like just getting chunked out by these rockets, and it almost got to the point, I thought they were actually going to set up like a perma-pushing freeze, but they didn't. It looks like they're going to crash the wave, and then back here, 36 to 15, that's probably going to get cleaned up to about a 22, maybe. But yeah, that's a huge lead for this Jinx coming out early on, as they're going to get a pickaxe and a set of boots. And if Lucky backs here, they're going to miss out on a bunch of CS, but it does look like Sword overstays their welcome.
Yes, and Sword is going to be stunned up, and here comes a flash forward follow-up, and Lucky going to pop the barrier. Maybe not necessary, but does secure that first blood, and that's a lot of gold going back over. I can see what Sword was trying to do, trying to shove the wave in, but I don't think it was worth giving up first blood in that process. But they'll keep in mind that the flash and barrier is down for Lucky, and could settle for a potential gank for Hades later on.
Oh, man, that's one of those plays that you just have to, like, in comms, you're just like, my bad. You know, like you know it's completely silent. You know nobody is happy about what just happened, and you just have to, my bad. Yeah, that's very unfortunate for the side of Seneca Swarm, because you had, up to that point, a near perfect laning phase. But hey, props to Spring Roll for noticing it, using his W to jump over there and get on top of that Lulu and start the passive procs. And, from here on, I mean, you still have a farmed Jinx, but that's a big sigh of relief if you're lucky on this Yunara, because now you at least have a little bit of chance to trade, and if the Maokai comes, you might actually be able to get a kill here.
Yeah, it looked like they're going to just clear up some of this vision. Marth is in the area. Springroll just throwing up the shield for now, but Hades can go for a potential flank. Let's see, they are pinging it. Let's see if they want to go for this collapse or not, as Juggernaut's going to be the first to move over in this area. However, Goat Theory is level 6, so can use that ultimate to provide some additional damage. Chomper's going to be dropped. It's just going to be the Maokai that's going caught up. They're going to take a lot of damage, but the Cataclysm catches all 3 members. Spiral and Despair is layered on top of it, and just way too much damage coming out. Right of the Arcane is going to be dropped, but Jinx is going to pick up another kill. 3 kills going straight over to the side of Seneca Swarm. What a beautiful combo from the side of Seneca Swarm.
Hey, bro, do you want a couple of kills? Just come down from mid lane. They're going to line up into a little small blob for me to just Cataclysm on top of him. Heads up, I love the fact that he waited for a while there, too. Like, he waited until Marchstoner actually flashed away. He did the flag and drag, and then had the patience and the wherewithal to make sure that they lined up. So once the flash came through and Braum had jumped on top of him, that was the time to Cataclysm, and he did it almost perfectly. So a great job from them. And now Goat Theory is going to get tested here, because now you have Hui, who's matching you on CS, basically, does have a tower plating, but now also has 2 kills. So when he comes back from, which I think he just did, yeah, he just backed it and bought the Faded Ashes and the Lost Chapter. That's absolutely huge for this Hui. That is not the champion that you want to be giving 2 free kills and an assist to, as TDD doing the same thing that he normally does. but I would like to see Mark Stoner now help out TDD because if you can't win through Rumble, then you might just lose this game. As now Hades is taking my advice and going top, gets free flash.
Yeah, going to get a flash out of it. Drop the equalizer as well too, and for Charlotte has a little bit passive as well. It's not the same as Garen, but could heal up a little bit over time. And, you know, TD is playing a carry top, right? So you could put a lot of your attention there and try to let the Yunara scale a little bit later into the game. This one's going to be an easy lane to begin with, right? Especially with the Lulu and Jinx, and the range of Jinx is going to make things a little bit more difficult. As you can see, they are still continuing to skirmish a bit. Springworld jumping forward, but lands straight into Chompers. Is still level 5, so does not have the Glacial Fissure up just quite yet.
Ooh,
and here comes the Super Mega Death Rocket. It's going to do a good chunk of damage. Not quite enough. As you can see, Sword is going to just ult himself, and Jinx now gets the kill, gets the reset. Meanwhile, TDD dropping on the top side too. So winning the 2v2 and taking a gank on that top lane is going to be massive. Here comes the Nature's Grab, so the flash away, but doesn't get it enough. And Twist Advance is going to close the gap onto Jinx, and here comes the arc right of the Arcane. One kill going over to Goat Theory, the other going to Lucky. So they make something out of it, and overall, at the end of the day, end up being a 2-for-2 trade.
Oh yeah, 1000%. I actually love that play from them. I think that's the only way that they can try to like really come back into this game. You get a shutdown onto this Jinx, or even if it wasn't a shutdown, you finally stop this onslaught of pressure that Jinx has here, and you just make the play. As TDD kind of unfortunately gets hit up, on the top side there. So now Juggernaut seems to be like the next champion that they kind of want to go after here, as Hearthstoner is coming in here, and it looks like Juggernaut's going to try to fight this one out if they can.
Twist Advance comes through, and here comes a Bramble Smash. I don't know if Juggernaut has a lot of place to go, but they don't really want to challenge to wait for some reason. And the shutdown does end up going over to March Stoner. The burn damage going to secure it up. Goat Theory may be scared of some of that poke damage, but I think Goat Theory could have just taken that. Maybe just try and be the homie to give the kill over to the Maokai jungler instead.
I think that they knew, I think probably that the Spiraling Spirit was still up, and they didn't want to take the chance of trading over a kill for a kill there, right? Like, you're committing 3 people of resources, or 3 champions of resources to this attack here, especially with Spring Roll coming up. So I think they wanted to just make sure that they didn't give that away. So to be fair, Juggernaut almost got away with that, right? Like, he used his W speed boost that he gets. I don't know all of the ability names, so I'm just going to concede that right now. But almost got away with that too. So pretty close call for Juggernaut. But yeah, I think they did the right thing. It's unfortunate that it's on the Maokai, although he is going to Leandri's first build. So getting to the Leandri's as quick as you can is kind of important, as it does look like he's trying to make another gank over here on the bot lane.
Yeah, Glacial Fissure goes a bit wide, but here comes the follow-up damage, and Jinx is stunned. However, you get the Lulu ultimate onto it, but there's just not enough time to get out of it. Just CC chain on CC chain. Springworld's going to be the one to pick that up, as the Arcane is going to be dropped over to try to snipe the Lulu. Lulu does get out there for the time being. Juggernaut is here for some additional support, and Spiral Despair is going to land. It's just going to be the Braum that's taken out, and now I think Juggernaut might be slightly mispositioned, as now goes down to Goat Theory and Marsh Stoner, and Lucky feeling pretty confident now, knowing that the Cataclysm has been dropped. Just going to, or no, Cataclysm was actually not dropped in that fight, but Hades doesn't want to take the 1v3 in that challenge. And despite the massive gold lead in that bot lane, that's 2 kills going right back over to Jolly Rogers, and Jinxstein twice is going to help close the gap a bit. Someone asked in chat earlier, who is that Jinx with stream mode that is indeed hype?
Yeah, that's I'll get the name. It is Hype 23M1. So whatever that stands for. But yeah, well, everybody who says never gank a losing lane, right? They've never watched this, right? Because they've now just overloaded. Like, they've made up for the fact that that's a losing lane, and they've just completely overloaded this. And this is what I was talking about earlier, where the Juggernaut has to walk down to be a part of the play and put himself in danger if the play goes awry. And that's exactly what happened, whereas, Goat Theory with the Xerath just pops the right of the Arcane and just is able to get away with ganking and being present from basically the mid lane. So I love the way that they're doing this. We are going to get a fight over this dragon. They do not want to give both of the first dragons over to the side of Seneca Swarm.
Nature's Grab does finally grab onto it. Here comes the Twist Advance to slow down Hades. Hades forced to burn the flash. Jomper's not going to stun up Marth, but they sent 5 members for this Drake, so they better make something out of it. I think Seneca Swarm is just going to back off knowing that they are outnumbered and live to fight another day. They already have 1 Drake to their name, so they don't want to give up too much here. As meanwhile, they're going to get a lot of value in this mid lane and top lane. Force Traveler and Juggernaut just pushing out these lanes as much as possible, knowing that they're not going for this Drake. And this is actually going to be a lot of value for the set because TP was spent to even get to this area for TDD. So TDD is going to give up waves, give up plates on top of it, and allows Force Traveler to catch up a little bit on this gold.
Yeah, it does, and it gives them a little bit of breathing room. And you know, to be fair, if Juggernaut, instead of shoving mid, if they had responded to that play, I think they probably could have killed Marthstoner on the Maokai, because all he has right now is Leandries and Merc Treads, and he was a little far away, and a lot of his escapability, you know, is down with the flash being gone. And now Force Straddler finally going to try to do what TDD had been done to him, forces the flash out pretty quickly, and a little bit of a re-engage, but I don't think TDD really wants that smoke at this moment.
Yeah, great anticipation flash of Voice, the face breaker. It could have been a pretty deadly combo, especially with Showstopper still around and available for Force Traveler. Force Traveler, though, just going to hang back, wait for the cooldowns to come back up, and try to fight again. I mean, still pretty healthy. And, you know, the downside for Force Traveler, he went for the Hex Drinker first, so doesn't even have a complete item yet. But you still don't want to face check a set like that, especially if his damage is getting... Oh, he flashed forward, goes for the face breaker. Does he go for the Showstopper to close the gap? Cataclysm is going to be used, but Equalizer is going to be dropped. Here comes a Haymaker. Avoids it by stepping behind the set, but still nowhere to go as Force Traveler is going to take that kill with the help of Hades. Meanwhile, the Jinx is getting completely stunned up, has nowhere to go. Just going to try to just take out Lucky if possible with the auto damage. Just not enough, especially down a member in this 3v2 fight. And Jinx goes down yet again, and Lucky going to be the one to pick that up now at 3-1-2. Still about 40 CS behind, but picking up a lot of plate golds. You know, it's getting a lot more XP out of this, and things are starting to look a lot better for Jolly Rogers as the time's going on in this bot lane. But they are giving up some advantages on that top side to Force Traveler and Seneca Swarm.
Yeah, and I always classify Braum as like, he's a fun champion after 20 minutes in the game, when you can finally actually be useful and do everything and survive everything. And so like, that's kind of like what they're banking on. That's kind of like where they're getting to. We did see there, if this ultimate might come out, and Hui might be dead here. As he gets dropped really low here in the mid lane. But yeah, Braum's one of those champions that like later in the game, he is going to be able to do a lot. But they're doing a really good job of like, even though he's not super strong right now, and this Yunara has been pushed in this entire time, they've been doing a good job of just funneling all of their resources into here. Every time that Seneca Swarm make a play on the top side, Marthstoner's on the bot side, and vice versa, right? Like when they're kind of going top here is, a little bit of a fight.
Hades caught in a tough position, but here comes the Spine of Despair. Forces Marth to flash out, but here comes Force Traveler. Showstopper going to be used. Juggernaut going to be the one to pick up that kill right of the Arcane, trying to do as much damage as possible, but Goat Theory is going to have to run for it if he wants to try to survive. Cataclysm is up, but don't want to take that right under the turret. It's not going to be easy to get out of your own Cataclysm at that point. And Grubs do go over to Seneca Swarm, which is going to be great for Force Traveler on the splitting set. And you can see the set starting to become a problem for the side of Jolly Rogers. And I like that they're putting a lot of the resources into Force Traveler, because they know that he is hard to stop on that side lane as later the game goes on.
Yeah, he is. And I mean, this game is obviously it's the closest that we've had at 17 minutes, or as we're approaching the 17-minute mark here. But it just seems like every advantage that is getting got by one team, it's going in the opposite direction on the other side of the map right now, right? Like, we finally start to see Yunara and Braum getting a little bit of help from Goat Theory and Marthstoner to finally get into the point where they can actually take a 2v2 into this Jinx Lulu, while at the same time TDD on this top side, or Force Straddler on the top side, is now 2-0-1. This is the first time that we've seen him playing from a lead in an advantageous position. So this could be absolutely huge for them, as well as now Seneca Swarm finally has somebody in their top laner with some agency. But you do still have TDD with the with the Rift Herald in their pocket. You know, they are on Rumble, which is a huge late game carry once they start doing just even more and more damage. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. As this time, Forest Rattler is the one that's coming down. It does look like Seneca Swarm do not want to give up 2 dragons in a row. And in 15 seconds, we could have a good team fight over this Infernal Drake.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we didn't drop the showstopper with the Maokai onto anyone, so I haven't seen what that full damage will look like, but that is, it is a possibility. Now, if you're doing it when the Twist Advance is coming through, though, then the Maokai will be unstoppable, so you'll be grabbing absolutely no one. I believe the damage still comes through, though, so, but that is going to be quite unfortunate if the timing is not there for Force Traveler, so I think both Marth and Force Child are going to try to figure out how to time that to avoid that. As right of the Arcane going to really soften up the health bars of the squishies on the side of Seneca Swarm, and they really don't have any true tanks, right? Outside of, I mean, Force Child is not really much of a tank either, but you know, the main front line for the team, and because of that, you know, you got Maokai, you got Braum, the really front line for the side of Jolly Rogers, making this fight a little bit easier. But here comes Fortchilder trying to go in there. 1v5. Here comes the grass and the haymaker, but not doing enough damage. However, Mark is going to be the first one to pick off. Hades, though, trying to run for it, and no, gets taken out from Lucky, and that's a shutdown as well. So no jungler inside. They're just looking to skirmish to see who can win the fight. But Force Traveler is going to go down. So does the Jinx. Juggernaut going to have to flash out of it. It's just a Lulu and Hui, and I think this Drake is going to go back over to the side of Jolly Rogers, but Go Theory is not done yet. Going to snipe out Juggernaut in that one. 4-0-3 on this Xerath. Absolutely disgusting, and this damage is going to really start adding up over time.
I was going to put this out there. Sword had flash and picks up, so he could have shielded that. In all seriousness, that the TDD Rumble equalizer was absolutely huge. Once Force Straddler and Hades had gone back in, the only way that they could come back out was through that equalizer. So super well placed. It kept it kept Jinx and Lulu and Juggernaut onto the backside while they were able to fight basically front to back that entire fight because of that positioning. So hopefully they learn from it. If you're Seneca Swarm, hopefully they learn from that and they don't let that happen again. But just a great heads-up play by TDD on this Rumble to just get like almost perfect positioning of that equalizer to make sure that there was no way that they could get out. As now Spring Roll trying to get some deep vision is going to take a little bit of damage, but now they are starting to go back the other way with that. As now Force Straddler still 2-on-2 on the set. Did do a ton of front-loaded damage there, but like I said, just the positioning of the team afterwards and that great Rumble ultimate just completely shut anything off from there and basically won that fight for Jolly Rogers.
Meanwhile, Goat there trying to get out of it. Does stun up Hades, but Hades does have the Cataclysm, and I don't think there's a lot of places to go for the Xerath. And the shutdown finally comes through as one of the downsides of Xerath, right? Not the most mobile champion, especially on the side lanes. And a great job of securing that. Gets rid of some of those Dark Steel stacks as well. So going to be a little good gold trading over, but Marth comes in with a Twisted Advance, Bramble Smash, Jinx has nowhere to go, and Lucky is going to pick up that kill now on a rampage for that Yunara. Has a Fiend Hunter Bolts as well. Going to be really great synergy with this toolkit on the ADC. They look like they are just going to try to grab some turrets in the meantime, and there's just no one that could really stop them at this point.
No, just a little bit of an overstep, and I don't think they know they shouldn't be that far ahead without vision of the side lanes, right? Like that entire river is just dark for the side of Seneca Swarm, so I don't think that they were accounting for that there. But I don't think that happens again. And Jinx goes from the Hex Optics over into a Runons, which is great because there are basically 3 huge melee champions that are going to be trying to get on top of him. But for the moment, in the 2v2 skirmish, like it kind of takes a lot of the damage away from like what you want to do, as opposed to the Fiend Hunter Bolts and the Kraken Slayer for Yunara. So Lucky is sitting in a very good position now. Even though they're down 60 CS, they have a lot of kills under their belt. They do have 2 items completed along with as another ultimate coming out from Marthstoner and a fight.
Yeah, Spiral Despair is going to land, but Juggernaut is going to fall shortly after that. Unfortunate for them, the kill does go over to Spring Roll, so not getting as much value. But here comes the Catacombs to re-engage. I don't know if this is worth it or not. They don't really have the damage to output it, and now finally Jinx is excited, but just is running on so little health and does take out the Yunar before going down. Here comes Right of the Arcane to do as much damage as possible. Force Traveler trying to be the hero here, and the Haymaker is going to close out the health bar on the Braum. And end up being a very bloodbath-filled fight in that mid lane. 3 for 3. Unclear who the real winners were there, but hype on that Jinx did pick up the shutdown onto Lucky, which is definitely what you need for Jinx to get a little bit back in the game. Weird to say get back in the game, given that you have more than about a 50 CS lead, but it just kind of felt like that as Lucky was getting a lot of these shutdowns back over in his favor, and I feel like the gold is a little bit more even now.
Yeah, and that's a shutdown as well. So like that's a lot of money going into the pocket of hype here. So pretty big for them. And yeah, like once they finish this third item here, like that's when Jinx is really going to becoming online. So absolutely huge for them. Big for them to be able to get that shutdown over to the hands of their carry. And yeah, like Force Traveler too, like coming through, starting to do a good amount of damage. You know, they, like you said earlier, did buy the Hex Drinker, so you know they're getting that shield to keep them alive for a little bit longer, but it's also taking a lot of potential damage away from him. So once he gets like 1 or 2 more items, it does look like he's going for the name's escaping me, where you get more damage based on your max health. Once that's completed, he's going to be doing a ton of extra damage as well. So I think these fights are like they're razor thin right now, where we're getting the 2-2, 3-3, the 4-3 or whatever. I do kind of feel like Seneca Swarm is kind of on the path to where they're going to get to the point where they are absolutely winning these fights if they're given that sort of an opportunity to space out to where they want to, and they don't get like funneled into another like equalizer ult from TDD.
Right, and Drake is going to be spawning, but it looks like Jolly Rogers, they're going to trade the Drake for the Baron, and they might be able to sneak this without Seneca Swarm realizing it. You can see Sword just booking it up to the Baron to see if they can get some vision. Chemtech Drake is going to go over to the side of Seneca Swarm, and now I think Sword might have gone a little bit too far dropping that ward. Well, they do indeed see that the Baron is going to be taken. And Jolly Rogers able to steal that one as Drake is only at 2-2, so not too worried there. Nature Scrap's going to be used defensively. Doesn't actually get Hades, but I don't know if Hades wants to fight this 1v3. The zap does land onto Marth, and Marth caught in a tough position. The rest of the team is gone, and Marth just going to have to pay the price for it as Marth does drop 1 Baron buff down for the side of Jolly Rogers. However, they still have 4 others, and with Rumble Split pushing on that bot lane, they're going to definitely get some value there and probably a turret on top of it.
Yeah, and that's kind of crazy that they were able to do that too. I don't know if Marth wasn't screaming into his microphone at that point, but he doesn't want to take a 1v3, but he does want to take a 2v1, and that's what he ended up getting with Jinx in his back pocket there. So I kind of feel like Goat and Springroll probably could have turned that one around had they stayed, but maybe the communication just wasn't there. So a rare, great call turned into like kind of like a not so great follow-up call for the side of Jolly Rogers there. But yeah, I absolutely love the fact that they took that Baron though. Like that can't be understated or overstated enough how important that is. You had 0 priority over that dragon, and whoever made that call to go into the Baron pit, absolutely genius for that moment, because that's exactly what they needed to do. And now you see like Jinx is sitting here free firing on these it can't even clear these. So all the pressure that Forest was building up in the bot lane, and they were able to put into the mid and the top lane, is now kind of screwed over by the fact that you just have Baron minions and the extra stats and gold that you get along with it.
Yeah, definitely. And this Baron has not really paid off much. I mean, they got 1 turn on that bot lane, but even without the Baron empower minions, I think TDD would have gotten that anyway. So they're going to really have to try to make some value happen, because the gold from Baron is not nearly as strong as it is. As Spring Roll might have caught Juggernaut. Nature Scraps is going to be used to close it out, but forcing the flash out still finally roots up the way. Here comes the Nature's Advance, or the Bramble Smash, and it is going to be enough to take out Juggernaut, but a Spiral in Despair is absolutely huge. And you can see Jinx trying to get the resets and does end up getting the kill, but it's going to be a Xerath that takes it out here. Showstopper coming in. Lucky just gets instantly blown up. The flash forward from Hades. The Cataclysm to catch 2 members. Equalizer's perfect though, as is going to layer so much damage onto the J4. Force Traveler, though, still has a Haymaker to do some damage. Polymorph's going to be used onto TDD, but TDD is burning everyone so fast. And Force Traveler waiting for some cooldowns. Can he get enough on the health bar damage to get a big Haymaker? Not going to be the case. Can they snipe him out? Oh, and a great Haymaker to get the shield needed to stay alive. But a great fight and great collapse from Jolly Rogers. I thought they were overextended a bit chasing that way, but turned out it worked out perfectly for them.
Yeah, it did, and I'm loving the fact that this Maokai is now kind of like they're going with like a semi. I mean, it's not even semi at this point, right? Like it's basically like a double AP item into Imperial Mandate now. So like they just do so much damage. Like the Xerath wasn't even the one that did the most damage at the beginning of that fight. He just ended up getting the Q at the end. So the Nature's Grasp and then following through with that onto Hui just completely zeroed him out. And that unassuming damage that you got from him was absolutely huge now as they're vying for control over this dragon again. It's about a minute before it's up, so we do have the Hui in the top lane kind of pushing that out and kind of doing their thing. And TDD with another huge equalizer. Once that Cataclysm was out, he just drops that equalizer, and that's just like an easy, just sit here if you want to use this on me. And so turn that one around, and once again, another huge fight that just comes back to the way of Jolly Rogers via the TDD equalizer. So great job on this Rumble so far. That pick is paying a lot of dividends thus far.
I think I think a big part of it is the team fighting potential for Jolly Rogers is just way stronger, right? Like Seneca Swarm, they had to land a lot of their skills properly and layered in the right areas to for it to really matter. Whereas it's just way more easier for Jolly Rogers. You know, Nature's Grass going to land onto multiple targets. You got the Equalizer, Glacial Fissure, and then you got Goat there just poking out damage from afar. Meanwhile, if you don't get a great showstopper with Forge Traveler set, then that kind of goes to your full initiation, right? Like Hades can Cataclysm some people in some ganks, but in a full 5v5 fight, he just gets exploded within his own Cataclysm. And you can see the advantage in the river is going over to the side of Jolly Rogers. They're fighting for this too. They don't want to give up the soul point very easily, but I don't know if Seneca Swarm can easily fight this one, as they're looking to try to at least, and we'll see kind of how they approach this one.
Yeah, I think what you need to do is you need to get either a Nature's Grasp or an Equalizer put out super quick. Like maybe even use your Cataclysm to bait out an Equalizer and then back off before this dragon starts getting hit. They are trying to keep their space with the Jinx, but one thing that Jolly Rogers has is Goat Theory on the Xerath, and he's going to be able to reach out and touch somebody from really far away now as TDD is the target on the bot side.
All right, and Hades trying to catch it. Nature's Grasp is not going to land on so many targets, but Hades is going to be the first to drop. But the Jinx Super Mega Death Rocket takes out 2 members, and now Jinx is excited. However, you have to still dodge the spells from the Xerath, and Lucky is full health, and now Jinx no longer excited. Might not want to take this fight, as health bars from 3 members of JR is still full health. Meanwhile, the 3 health bars on the side of Seneca Swarm are much lower, and they're going to just have to concede this Drake, despite the fact that there is no dragon here to snipe it, and no Super Mega Death Rocket to take this as well. So a great fight yet again going over to the side of Jolly Rogers, and that's a tough thing, right? Usually once Jinx gets excited, it's game over for the fights, but you have so much poke damage, especially Goat there doing a great job of just keeping the Jinx away until that passive falls off, and then now you're just a normal ADC, but you're walking into a very strong Yunara on top of it, and that's not going to be a great 1v1 fight for Jinx.
No, it's not. And another thing, too, is TDD's Equalizer, once again, I feel like a broken record, just keeping that entire left side. So Goat Theory, once he uses the Rite of the Arcane, was able to just... They were already pigeonholed to where you wanted them, and they couldn't go left because they walked into the Equalizer. And if they went right, then they were walking into your circles. So great job from them, just... getting both of those ults to just synergize so well. It just seems like JRFF, or Jolly Rogers, is just on the same page as their calls are coming in. And on the opposite side too, Seneca Swarm is also, they're not just completely losing these fights. This game feels like any 5-0 or 5-1 fight could be the end of the game, and it is just on a knife's edge right now. So both of these teams playing really well, and up top here, do get a little bit of a skirmish here as off camera Rumble does end up going down. Hades trying their best to just dodge out, and they do. So,
Fancy footwork right there from Hades, and that's going to be a pretty crucial pick off there because it's going to be a little bit hard to defend this without TDD's equalizer or just damage in general, but they think better of it, going to pull off. Goat Theory's damage is pretty immense, and there aren't really a lot of tanks, right? The only person that can really tank this damage well is probably the set, maybe the J4 with the Merc Treads, but outside of that, this damage from Goat Theory is insane. You got the Magi's as well, but they make looking like they might catch Goat Theory off. And here comes Hades trying to go for it with the Blast Cone to... Oh, Super Mega Death Rocket is going to pick up the kill. That's going to be massive as Jinx is now on leash and getting super excited in this fight. Going to pick up 2 quick ones. They're looking for Baron right after that one, and that's a huge engage. Hades just popping out of nowhere like a jump scare, forcing Goat Theory to flash it. But the Mega Super Death Rocket was just enough to pull off the damage. I was just saying how Goat Theory is pumping out the damage with the Magi, but that's a lot of Magi stacks gone right off of that. And they're looking to grab the Baron now, and the gold lead is already starting to grow back over in favor of Seneca Swarm.
Yeah, that's the play that they needed right there. Like, that just gets them completely over the top. I think that from now on, unless they do something really dumb, or Goat Theory just plays this like perfectly, like Seneca Swarm, that could be the play that gets them over the top, and that's like the turning point of the game, right? Like, they just got a huge gold infusion. They get the Baron. They can start shoving 2 lanes at once now with the Baron empowered minions, and they're playing this correctly, and now they're starting to crowd up the jungle, and they're going to try to take some resources away from Mart Stoner here, and that is one of the the bad parts. Obviously, like, Magi's is the cursed item for a reason, right? Like, you pick that up, and next thing you know, you are feeling great, you're on top of the world, and now all of a sudden, oof.
Yeah, these Jinx autos are pretty nasty. I mean, that's not even Jinx with the passive up. And that's a Maokai too, right? This is not like a glass cannon champion by any means. Yeah, true. It did go for more of an AP build, but still healthier items as the first inhibitor turret is going to go down that mid lane. Meanwhile, Force Child doing a great job. Equalizer is going to be landing and doing a good chunk of damage, mostly onto the Lulu, so nothing too consequential. Force Child is setting up this bot lane as well as possible for additional push, and they could look for engage, but a poor engage here could also spell trouble for them, and they don't want to get aced after just getting the Baron, and the empowered Cannon Minion is doing work. It is going to take out the turret, and this might be the opening you look for. Let's see if they go for this engage or not, as Juggernaut and Sword are both pretty low on health. Meanwhile, Goat Theory does have Rite of Arcane. He's going to be dropping it and does snipe out the Lulu. Goes for a few more autos, doesn't quite do it. Oh wait, actually no, it takes out Jinx's GA, but here comes the Super Mega Death Rocket, not doing quite enough as the Showstopper is going to be used onto Lucky, but there's just not enough damage for now. Oh, speaking of which, the Haymaker's finally dropped, might be the damage they need, but I don't think there's enough cooldowns left, and now it's just going to be Juggernaut. They do indeed get aced. A snipe from Goat Theory is going to close that out, and this is actually going to be Chemtech Soul that's spawning, but instead they're looking to close out the game as the Rumble is TPing up to that top side. I think they could actually just at least go for the inhibitors. I don't know if they can end this yet, as Jinx is going to be up in 25 seconds, but they could at least get maybe Chemtech Soul off the backsays. They don't want to overextend too much here, as that would be disastrous if they get reverse aced, as Sword is here and Polymorph is available. Going to Polymorph to Xerath, trying to put on much of a defense as possible, as Wild Growth is going to be used, and Sword actually putting on quite the defense as Lulu picks up the kill 1v2. They do lose a Nexus turret for the cost of it, but now this is going to set up a much easier fight for Seneca Swarm for this Chemtech soul point for them, but denying the soul for Jolly Rogers is huge.
Yeah, and you can tell both of these teams want this game so bad right now, right? Like, they want this series because they both teleport up. They could have taken the dragon, but they go for like the, hey, we can get this, we can put so much pressure. It's just a Lulu, we could kill her, and Sword with the hero play, right? Like that is absolutely massive that they end up getting that kill onto TDD. Is now they have absolutely zero top lane presence here for this fight, and we've seen what Jinx can do when just given a little bit of space. Is now does look like they're going to go for this though.
Oh, Glacier Fisher is going to land. You can see Rite of Arcane just dropping it onto Hype as much as possible, but not enough to really take that fight. And you know, especially with the objective taken, you don't really want to fight into a Jinx that is excited. And yes, they have the top lane pushed out, but I feel like Jolly Rogers kind of squandered their ace, right? They could have maybe gotten the inhibitor and just backed off and gotten Chemtech Soul to, you know, make the series more in their favor, but instead, they lose their top laner at the cost of an inhibitor and one Nexus turret, yeah, for sure. But now the Seneca Swarm is easily back into this game, and they're looking to take another team fight soon.
Yeah, they are. And I think, you know, for this one, like, Jolly Rogers needs to just chill. Like, what was working for them? It was poking out. It was setting up an equalizer. It was using Nature's Grasp to you know, lock down, you know, multiple champions and then get ult on top of ult. And then, you know, Yunara in the background just, you know, coming up big with the follow-up damage. These last couple of fights, it seems like they've just kind of pushed a little bit too much forward without overlapping, right? So, you know, if they can get back to that and they can keep doing that, then I think they'll be fine. And this game is just as much theirs as it is Seneca Storm's. You know, getting to the end here, or at least we're getting to the late game here. We're at 38 minutes. We've had 6 dragons already. We're about to have, you know, an Elder Dragon, a second Baron. Like, this game is going to the end, or you know, to the late part, and like. It's going the distance here as both of these teams just really, really want this win. And this is the kind of league action that, you know, it's just so much fun to see.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and you can see the full build on Goat Theory. Magi stacks back up to 18, which is still quite solid for this Xerath. I mean, this Xerath pick has been really smart into the composition for the side of Seneca Swarm, right? They just don't have really true tanks. You do have 2 Spear Visitors on that top side of Seneca Swarm, so really just trying to weather out that AP damage. I mean, a lot of their damage is AP, so I think it makes a lot of sense, but Hades might be caught in a tough position as here comes, buffer some of the rooting damage with the Flag and Drag to get out of it. Hades, again, dodging a lot of right of Arcane, but that still does a lot of damage, despite the fact that he dodged maybe half of those shots. And going to have the recall now, and this could set up for a good Baron situation for Jolly Rogers. I mean, I don't think they could sneak this very easily, though, as Seneca Swarm is aware of this.
Yeah,
but
they do have a ward.
Are they going to get poked out or not? Sword caught in a tough position here. Forced to flash out. Nature's Grasp is actually not going to land on anyone because of it. And I think if Seneca Swarm takes a fight shortly after, is knowing that that crucial ultimate is on cooldown, they can maybe have a good spot. As Goat Theory caught in a tough position, Super Magic Deck Rocket not going to be enough, but here comes the Cataclysm follow-up. Hades is going to try to lock down the Xerath, but Xerath flashes out, and Hades now going to take a lot of damage himself. Wild Growth going to be used onto the J4, but look at the Jinx auto damage doing so much. Just one kill will set this Jinx off. Not going to be able to get it, but now they are pushed so far back in their base. And I think Seneca Swarm, they could turn back onto the Baron now, knowing that the health bars are quite low. Go there, can't him a recall in his own base. They're having to take the long scenic route back home. No one daring to recall. And it's going to be an easy inhibitor going straight to Baron off of it. And I don't think Jolly Rogers can contest this. Right of the Arcane is up soon, though. And a hero snipe from Goat Theory can really be crucial here. Or maybe even taking out a few of these members can set up for a good reverse fight.
Yeah, they do have a lot of damage to burn this Baron down really quickly. The problem is going to be, Xerath's ult is going to be up here in a second. And we'll see if they can do anything, as the Nature's Grasp is going to lock some people down. They may get this Baron, but then lose the fight after. We'll see.
Oh, yeah, and you can see there, too. He's saying, you know what, I'm not even going to try to snipe this, as the Baron was left on 1 HP. They just want to get rid of as many of these Baron buffs as possible. A huge Haymaker before Travel has no more cooldowns left, and couldn't even use a Showstopper. Hades going to try to get out of it, as the Blast Cone is going to get him to safety, but Juggernaut's going to be killed on top of it, and their base is kind of in tatters with these super minions on that top side. And I don't know if that Baron was worth it just quite yet. I mean, you know, they lost a lot in that fight, and great response from Jolly Rogers. They have a mid lane pushed out quite a bit, as this game is going the distance, and it looks like there's going to be a Chemtech Soul fight no matter what happens.
Yeah, this is insane right now. I'm loving it. But yeah, I mean, you kind of saw the writing on the wall there, where they were committed to that Baron play, and then they had to kind of step out because of the Nature's Grasp. And I love this. Marchstoner and Goat Theory are both on the same page with these two champions, to where they're just using this Maokai almost perfectly to set this up like as often as they can. So great job so far by them to at least like save the game, right? Because if you have all 5 members with Baron on the back of that, and you know you can get Jinx excited, like the game's over. So for them to get a couple kills on the back backside of that. It does extend this game a little bit longer, and now the Chemtech Soul is going the way of
They are
Jolly
just
Rogers. Yeah.
ripping it and just completely stole it under the noses of Seneca Swarm. Seneca Swarm was just not ready for that fight. And that's going to be a huge swing of power going over to the side of Jolly Rogers. I mean, Jolly Rogers, almost everyone's almost full build at this point. So the gold differential doesn't even mean as much. It's really just Lucky that's behind a full item. I mean, talk about the Flame Horizon on Hype, over 100 CS differential over Lucky, despite the fact that dying 8 times throughout the game, but just stayed ahead on CS and has the 100% crit, whereas Lucky's only at 75%, and it could mean the difference in some of these fights, as Lucky's going to try to have to catch up on some of the CS as much as possible. I think after that, they could look for a fight, but maybe they look for one ahead of time, as Lucky trying to go for it, but Lucky does get taken out shortly after. GA is going to be used, and this was a lot committed just for Lulu, but if they could heal up and take a fight before Lulu comes up, that might be worth it. GA is now down, though, for Lucky for quite some time, and Lucky doesn't really have the economy to sell the item and pick up a different one, so going to be a mostly useless item for Lucky for a period of time, and is still down an item on top of it. But hey, he's going to take a lot of burn damage trying to defend this.
Yeah, I don't think he meant to take that flag and trek. My butthole puckered from that. Yeah, that was such a huge just heads up play from Lucky. He's like, Lulu's just a little bit too far ahead here, and yes, I had the GA, so yeah, it's down. It's got a very long defensive cooldown, but you just got yourself a BF sword on the backside of that. All it cost you was a GA for Lulu. To die there, and you get a little bit of an extra breathing room in this mid lane as the super minions are pushing towards you. And yeah, another thing with that Baron fight, a little bit of an extra like little salt in the wound there for Seneca Swarm is that they actually lost their inhibitor again to the super minions while they were taking that Baron. So that was just like another little that kind of sucks thing, because right now they're still having to deal with those super minions on the top lane, and that's what afforded Jolly Rogers the ability to take that dragon, you know, and get that Chemtech Soul, because if not, they might have overextended for that fight, and then you lose that, you 1000% lose the game. So sometimes things have to go your way. Like, you can't just be good. Sometimes, you know, things have to like roll your way, or the timing has to be perfect. And Seneca Swarm is finding that out now. And this next fight over for the Elder Dragon in about 3 minutes. But it looks like they're trying to catch them out right now and just get these last few little bit of items that they need. Is here comes the engage.
Nature Scraps is going to land just onto Hades. Kind of shot in the dark. They didn't really have clear vision, but here comes the Cataclysm coming through. The flash out from the Braum, or I should say from the Maokai, is going to get him to safety, and both ultimates just tossed there. Just to see what happens, as they're trying to go for the recall. Do they get poked out here? And they're going to throw a sapling. That's going to stop the recall for Hades. But now the Hui is not here for the team fight. If they take this engagement, they know that they have the numbers. This could spell disaster for Seneca Swarm, but I don't think they're confident that Hui is not in the area. Meanwhile, Hui does have the response as top wave, so they can really get a lot of damage into his mid lane, and they have some great positioning here too. You can see they're trying to recall to stop this, and now they're just moving straight over to the bot wave. Hades trying to recall for like the past 2 minutes, just cannot get it done. Gets slowed up from Lucky, and is able to just get himself out to safety. And might just position here for the defense. No point of recalling at this point, as the rest of the team is back in for the fight. Here comes the flash forward. And a huge showstopper just picks off Lucky. That's where the GA would have been handy, but I don't think GA would have saved them there. And here comes Super Mega Death Rocket. Jake's not getting the reset yet, but starting to just work on it. Braum going down is going to be everything that Hype needs. Hype is out on the chase. Zap doesn't land onto anyone for now. Go there, trying to stun up, but just only stun up the J4. The Zap lands onto the Rumble, and for some additional slow damage is coming through, and TD does go down to Hype. This might be the final fight. They don't have a wave, though, to push us in, so this might not be the end of the game, as Yunar is coming up in 30 seconds. Can they really take out these turrets without a full minion wave here?
They just need, I mean, they have the grubs, right? And so that will cut the damage mitigation potentially. But yeah, they're so far ahead of their minion waves, they might not need it.
Just the 3 autos will do it, as Goathier just gets completely destroyed from Hype. And now the wave is here. Nature's Scraps is going to be used offensively to slow down some of these minions, but I don't know if just between the Yunara, Braum, and Maokai, if they have what it takes as Fortune looking for something. Here comes the showstopper. Massive amount of damage. Superman Death Rocket going to be thrown as well for good measure. Haymaker is going to close that out, and these turrets are dropping faster than Jinx can shoot their guns. And Seneca Swarm, after a 47-minute banger, 30-30, closes out the game 3.
From playing the first 2 games from completely behind, just pushed in the entire time, behind on CS, feeling like you just couldn't really do that much. Force Stradler coming through with the big hero play at the end. The GA wasn't there. However, you were so far into the back line there. Like, lucky after making the big play, to get the Lulu, it just steps forward just a tad too much. It's just such a heads-up play from Force Stradler, just completely won the game at the back end of that. That's like where you get to that point where, you're, like you said, you're 40-something minutes into the game, and one big mistake just costs you everything. So everything that they had done that entire series to come back and, after the game 1 and then completely dominate game 2 into this, just like you said, banger. And that's an understatement in and of itself. This was such a fun game, especially let alone series to cast. And props to Seneca Swarm, man, because it got to the point where I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to really do anything with this either, because they were talking about it in chat that like Pride of the Arcane could probably 100-0 anybody on that team, but they had to set it up, and Seneca Swarm, just every time Nature's Grass came out, like all the carries just were safe, and they got out just in time. So huge plays from both sides, and that was a crazy finish there. Seneca Swarm definitely deserved that one, because that was just that's a mental game right there.
Definitely. Yeah, back and forth, 47 minutes felt like a whole trilogy in itself. But yeah, so fantastic performance from both teams. And unfortunately, Jolly Rogers Royal Fortune is the one to lose this one. Seneca Swarm winning again. I think they won last time they were on the broadcast too. So maybe some good luck on the stream. But that's going to do it for week number 6. I believe it's 7 weeks for the regular season. So we have one final week before we head to playoffs. Very exciting times. And next week, a lock will be eligible for play too. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But thank you for sharing the mic today, Fel, and filling in as always. Any final words from you?
No, that's it. Thank you guys so much for having me. This was a pleasure to cast with you as always, Caleb. You make it so easy for me. So thank you so much, and congratulations again to Seneca Swarm. And you guys win next week. Who knows? Maybe you get into the playoffs and you can make a run.
Definitely. Yeah. Some great plays like that. They definitely can. Well, shout out to everyone that's tuning in at home and stuck around for the whole broadcast, or even if you tune in for just a few minutes, we appreciate you all. And shout out to Shirogan for the broadcast duties and running solo on the observer duties as well. And until next week, we'll catch you all next Monday for week number 7 and the final week of the regular season before we head to playoffs. Until then, have a good one, y'all. Peace.